Hello, my Teaserking family. All right, this is part two because part one, I don't know what happened to it. Once I get this little message that says it's interrupted, I don't know if it blows me off or not. So let's assume it did. Yeah, it was 12 minutes. It should have been 15. All right, so I think we're okay. So what I was talking about was this guy,
Want to earn cryptocurrency?
Luke
Try Coinbase.
Coleman.
Jerome Powell was it a year?
All right. What I'm talking about are explaining Keynesians so you understand that, because they could talk well and you think, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he don't. The Keynesians don't get it. So I showed a video. I'll show it again. It's 5 minutes. He doesn't understand what inflation is. He says devalue the money, which is the inflation, but then he doesn't get. They say, oh, well, these countries had 200% inflation, which is impossible because you can't measure inflation. And just trying to point out, he doesn't know what he's talking about, to make you aware of things that are said that you realize, oh, they don't know. So that's kind of where I want to be. I want to explain that. So we'll have a good one. Everybody's talking Fort Knox. What if they revalue the gold? If they revalue the gold, I don't know. It depends what they do with it. I would assume you would revalue it to pay the debt off, right? $100,000 an ounce, and you've got. First of all, we don't have any gold in Fort Knox, which is what we'll see. Secondly, if we do have it, we better be real gold and not brass painted with gold like they did on Hogan's Heroes. And then three, and Money Heist, of course. And then three, is it our gold or is it China's gold? So we might have China's gold sitting there going, look, we got gold. Yeah, but it's all sold to China already. That's the other thing, which it already is. So it's all gone. The fact we don't do audits and we don't show it shows we don't have it. Like I say, if I say I got the Montana rookie card and you say, I don't believe you, look, I do. If I say I got a master's and you don't believe me, I got my diploma on the wall and I say, there it is. Yep, I do have it. So it behooves you to prove it when you're being questioned. It's just, especially something like does the U.S. have gold? You better prove it because people won't believe you. We do believe China's got like 80,000 tons and Russia's got 25,000 tons. So I always laugh when they just point to the central banks. Oh, Russia's central bank has 2,500 tons of gold. Yeah, but Putin's swimming pool has got 25,000 tons of gold in it. So I'm not quite sure, why you don't look at the shadow banks and the other little banks and pension funds and everything else they got in Russia that has gold in it. You don't want to account for that. You just want to say central bank, and then you want to say, look, the U.S. is number one with a phony 8,000 tons of gold that we really don't have, but we're going to say we do because we had it in 1949. And this is the problem. So you're getting a lot of fake news. All we're saying is prove it. You got 8,300 tons. I don't believe it because you don't show it. Show me. Why are you afraid? You're only afraid if you don't really have it. If you have it, you'd be like, here it is. Here's our gold. Look, it says certified. It's our gold. It's not China's gold, and it's 999. That's all. Then you can prove it, and the world knows you have it, and we have it. Right now, by not showing it, it means we don't have it. And if you showed it and you showed we don't have it, then we're all done. And so you don't want to show it. And all of a sudden, here's Trump coming in. I don't think he'll ever audit it. And if he does, he won't show it. Hey, Prophet. Morning. Hope you're well. So I just find it hard to believe. Now I know Canada doesn't have any gold. They got rid of theirs. I don't know why they're so stupid to get rid of theirs. I don't know how you get rid of gold. Like, of all the things to get rid of, gold isn't one of them. And then every country prints their money to death, and they still don't seem to get that. I assume because George Soros puts his guys in, and that's George Soros' plan to bankrupt all the countries. Because he must have gold, I assume. He can't be this stupid. He's got all the Nazi gold, so I can't imagine. All right, so this is a guy named Luke Groneman, and I don't know. I tried looking him up. He doesn't appear to be an Austrian economist. He appears to be some Keynesian guy, probably a banker because he speaks a little bank lingo. When I learn Austrian economics, I don't learn bank lingo, right? Mark McGuire talks about ring fencing and washing and drying. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't speak bank. I didn't learn bank. I learned economics. So let's hear what this moron has to say, and I'm going to cut him up pretty good.
Ago said that he could see maybe there's more than one reserve currency. I don't know exactly what that means, but do you think there's a case where the U.S. sees what's going on and rather than being a victim of this situation decides to sort of preempt it or move in advance of that and tries to revalue gold on their own or something like that?
Yeah, I do. I think there are ways out of this fiscal situation. It's effectively a dollar devaluation. That's in the cake at this point. It's a question of,
So what's a dollar devaluation, everybody? Oh, it's inflation. You're devaluing the dollar. You're making it worthless. But he doesn't call it inflation. He calls it a dollar devaluation. Why would you purposely make your money worth nothing? Why would you make this card worthless? Why would you do it? It's an asset. So why would you make your money worthless? Only an idiot would say that. Obviously, he's a Keynesian because he thinks you can just keep printing money. So there's step one. He doesn't know what that is. That's inflation. Because then he calls inflation, but he doesn't connect that dollar devaluation is the inflation. Now, this is what I'm trying to teach you, because when you hear people talk like this, they don't know what they're talking about. So immediately you just got to shake your head and going, this guy's an idiot. Not listen to the guy like he knows what he's talking about. This is my danger. Lynette Zhang, all she does is watch my videos and repeat what I say. She doesn't get anything. They're all most of these gold people, except for Egon, who actually knows what he's doing, are stockbrokers or bankers. So they're not economists, and therefore a stockbroker has no training. They're just salesmen, so they don't have a clue. That's why you got to be careful with people like that. All right.
I think it was actually Putin who said it. It's like, if there's going to be a fight, the best thing to do is pick the time and spot for the fight, right? Where it's most advantageous to you. If there's going to be a devaluation, why not use it to your, pick the time, pick the spot, use it to your advantage? Because the devaluation's happening.
Use it to your advantage. We're going to kill the money. How is that ever to your advantage? The devaluation's happening. Oh, you mean the inflation, because they're printing $37 trillion and the money's not backed by anything. Oh, that devaluation. Again, this just shows how stupid he is. So I'm playing translator right now. So how is it ever good to ruin your money? Please explain that to me. So if you got $50,000 in the bank and now it's worthless, explain to me how that's good for you. I don't get it. You want sound money. That's why you want gold, because they can't fuck around with it. They can't print it to zero. It can't be worthless. Why would you ever want something that you have to be worthless? This guy is the dumbest guy I've ever seen. And everybody, oh, it's Luke Groneman. And it's like, are you a Keynesian or an Austrian? Well, clearly he's a Keynesian and he's a Bitcoiner. So that enough said there.
Has to happen given the debt and everything we talked about before. There is a financial accounting manual for Federal Reserve banks. It's a public document. Latest update was April 2024. You can Google it.
Who the fuck cares?
Section 2.10 says the president can instruct the Secretary of the Treasury to tell the Fed to revalue the gold U.S. official gold. And then the accounting treatment of that is makes a deposit into the Treasury General Account, or TGA, which is just the Treasury's checking account. They can do whatever they want with. So, yeah, I mean, president could say,
did he just say they can just add money without having money? I really don't think so. I can't just pay a bill without real money. I got to have the money to pay it. I don't know what he's talking about. It makes no sense. They can just put money into the checking account without money. Well, what the hell is that? Oh my God.
revalue it to $20,000 an ounce, every $4,000 per ounce, given 261 million ounces of official gold, roughly. Every 4,000 bucks is $1 trillion. 20,000 an ounce is 20 trillion into the $5 trillion into the TGA. Buy back the long end of the curve, devalue the dollar, fund industrial policy, reshore. There's a lot of leeway, things you could do with that basically take a U.S. debt crisis off the table, position the U.S. economy for growth, sort of anesthetize the bond market, as I've said to clients.
How does that solve the debt crisis? Because $5 trillion is a drop in the bucket to the $35 trillion of debt, and then you've shot your shot. Now you're out of the gold.
Well, you don't. The gold doesn't leave. It's just an accounting treatment. The gold never moves in the.
So how do you use the $5 trillion? What do you mean the gold doesn't leave? How can the gold stay? Well, in this guy's logic, I'll just keep using the 5 trillion 5 times. Oh, the debt's gone, but I still have my gold. That could be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. How the fuck can you use the gold but not use the gold? The gold doesn't leave. It's just the accounting. What is he talking about? You owe a credit card, or you owe your mortgage or your rent. You pay it. The money leaves to go pay it. The money doesn't stay in your account. Well, yes, I paid my rent. Here's $2,000, but I keep the money. Even though I pay it, I keep the money. This could be the dumbest guy I've ever seen, and yet, Luke Roman, and what an idiot.
It's just money creation, pure. It's just straight money creation with no offsetting debt. So let's say there's 35 trillion in debt. The Treasury market's 27 trillion. The nets and various Xing out. Okay, so you can buy back 5 trillion overnight, all at the long end, basically. All the way down. Maybe it needs to be more than 20,000. Maybe it needs to be more than 5 trillion. By doing that, you're going to be replacing bondholders with cash. They're going to go out and they're going to buy something else with that cash, freshly printed $5 trillion.
Well, wait a minute. What does he mean? You're gonna pay Russia, China, and India, the ones who have your debt. How are you going to pay them? You're not giving the gold. You're just printing money. Well, that's inflation. So why don't you just print $37 trillion? Because it won't be worth anything. You can't just print it. So even though you have gold, which supposedly you do, you can't just print 37 trillion. Otherwise, why don't we just do that? We'll just print 37 trillion and pay off the debt, because it doesn't work like that. The money will be worthless. Oh, but he doesn't quite understand that.
Being injected into the economy. You'll be growing the monetary base by $5 trillion.
Yeah, so the GDP would skyrocket.
GDP skyrockets, inflation skyrockets. Fed's going to probably have to maybe do a little bit of QE in there, but maybe not, because if you buy back the long end, there's no.
Inflation will skyrocket, but he has no emotion or no reaction to that. First of all, inflation is skyrocketed. The money's worthless. This is how we know he's a Keynesian, right? He doesn't understand that. If inflation skyrockets, your money is worthless. You can't just take the gold and spend it and not spend it. Doesn't work that way. Otherwise, so why don't you just print $37 trillion out of thin air and watch that your dollar is worthless? Because he doesn't get the market. In other words, if you just print $5 trillion and say, here, nobody wants your money because it's worthless. He can't connect the dots. That's why he's a Keynesian, because Austrians know if you print the money, it's worthless. But he can't. And then he calls losing the value of the money versus inflation. He thinks inflation's prices. He doesn't get that inflation is printing the money. This is what's so frustrating for me to watch idiots like this. And then people go, oh, it's Luke Groman. And I'm like, the guy's a moron. He's a Keynesian.
Market, the long end is no longer a market. It's basically yield curve control. And then once, by virtue of reducing the debt, removing the long end blowout as a risk, then you can do some things on the fiscal side, whatever. GDP's already be skyrocketing anyway. Inflation will be skyrocketing. And you end up with debt to GDP maybe back to 60, 70%. Now the Fed is in a position where they can raise rates to fight inflation. They might need to do some creative.
Inflation would be so high. I mean, if you raise gold to 20,000, the whole world benefits from that.
Yeah.
Russia's going to benefit.
Yep.
China's going to benefit.
Yep.
And so now you have all of this money globally that's going to be sloshing around.
Yep.
And based off of sort of the way it's been going, maybe a lot of that capital comes to the United States.
It could.
So
why
then
would
we
it?
have massive inflation,
Yep.
right? You mentioned the Spanish Empire, right? So they went and discovered the gold in Peru or the silver, brought that back, created massive inflation, right?
Yep.
So
that's in the cake, though, right? Like I was talking with Dylan Leclerc yesterday. It was, we had a 25 to 30% aggregate inflation over 2 years, and debt to GDP didn't move. Right, debt to GDP was 121. It's 122% now, which tells you something really important. The inflation shock playbook that they were trying to run, inflation shock financial repression playbook, 25 to 30 wasn't enough. It needed to be 50, 60, or 60, 80% inflation for 2 years. And now because they were...
What the fuck is he talking about? We need 60, 80% inflation. It's all over at again, he's talking prices. And he's trying to say we needed 80%. So he doesn't get what inflation is. Why do people like this guy? Why do they think he's smart? He's a Keynesian. You do not want inflation at all. You want zero inflation. You don't want 2%. You certainly don't want 80%. If your money lost, basically the money is worthless. So how is that a good thing? Do we want to get a wheelbarrow? Do we know that the Roman Empire went out because of inflation, and the French and the English and the Spanish, even though they brought in all the gold from Mexico, the Spain, that's a fluke. And the fact that it caused inflation, they had so much gold and silver. I don't think that's a bad thing. Okay. But that's never going to happen again, because you're never going to find all this gold and silver again. That would be way too much for the market. Right, you'd have to find like, 1 million tons of gold to, kind of water down gold, but it would be bought so fast it wouldn't matter. So you clearly don't understand what inflation is. It's not prices, it's the devaluation of the dollar. But he says the dollar devaluates, but he doesn't know what that means. Then he says inflation should have been 80%, like that's a good thing. This guy is the stupidest guy I've ever seen in my life. He clearly doesn't understand what inflation is and what are the damages of it. Inflation is never good. Printing the money and losing value, explain how that is good in any situation, because it's never good. It always kills your economy, and it isn't debt to GDP. I don't give a fuck about debt to GDP. Why should I? The GDP is a made up number anyway. The debt's the debt, you owe it. So explain to me how we're looking at debt to GDP. Have you ever heard me say debt to GDP? Well, it's a Keynesian thing. So don't tell me 80% inflation, which you can't measure, is good. Your dollar is worthless if you understand inflation. He doesn't. He thinks it's prices. How is that good? Explain to me a scenario where it's $100 for a gallon of milk is a good thing. Explain to me how that's a good thing.
Not brave enough, not courageous enough to do it right the first time. Now it has to be like the 60, 80, those types of inflation numbers in a compressed period of time. That's what we're dealing with here, because the debt deficit levels are so high, and that's unpleasant, et cetera, et cetera. But Israel had 200% inflation for a couple of years in the 80s. Like no zombies, no collapse, no just. And
I mean,
it's a smaller economy. But that just goes to show, it can be done.
Israel had 200% inflation, which means he's looking at prices, and you don't think that hurt him. Everything was hunky dory with 200% inflation, which you can't measure. So you're looking at prices. Obviously, their dollar, the prices went, but we don't know why the prices went up. And to say it didn't hurt them, the guy's out of his mind. Of course it hurt them. Their money was worthless. So did they come out with new currency? Probably. Oh, he forgot to mention that. Let's go look that up for fun. Israeli currency in the 80s and see how they changed from Israeli 83, 84, and it went out to new currency. Like you could talk about the Germans, their hyperinflation wiped them out, led to Hitler, led to World War II. Yeah, that was probably a bad thing. Look at Zimbabwe. They had huge inflation, and then they came out with the ZIG, and then the Venezuela inflation. How about Greece? They were wiped out until they got new money in. And then you got Sri Lanka and Pakistan and on and on and on. How come France is no longer the number one power in England? Because they got rid of their gold and hyperinflated. How the fuck is it a good thing? Name one time that you inflated and it was good for the country. You can't. Oh, the Romans, yeah, they went out because they inflated their money. So where is it a good thing? Tell me one time that it worked. Don't tell me Israel with 200% inflation, because that's prices that you can't even measure. You got to measure the money. So again, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. He's from Mars.
Tricky, but we're going to have high inflation.
You reference a lot American with Argentine vibes, is how you say it, right? So if you look at Argentina, who's had triple-digit inflation for a long time, I haven't been there, but according to many people I know who have, our friend George Gammon was down there recently. He's like, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it when you're down there.
The only people I talk to that equate really a period of really high inflation with collapse of everything and zombies and all this stuff are Americans, and particularly Americans, in the financial centers. Oh my God. Well, yeah, of course they're like, oh my God, because the real value of the bonds goes.
So nobody has high inflation worries about it. This guy is a joke. All right. I had to put my 2 cents. Who's this clown idiot? Could this be why they have held metal prices down, waiting for the right time to let it fly? No. The U.S. government is not the only one who values any metals. The world does. Love the Jordan 1's mark. Can reprice it to the current market value. After that, the higher it's priced, the more inflation it will cause. No, it won't. This is the struggle I have trying to explain fucking inflation. People don't understand it. And you really just sit there and you scratch your head. This is where I know too much, and it's extremely difficult, because this is what inflation is printing the money, and it has no value. But yet people don't understand this, don't want to understand this. I don't know. I don't get. It's a very simple thing, right? You print too much of it, it's worthless. You can't measure inflation and to say, oh, it's 10%, it's 20%. Again, how are they measuring it? Oh, it's prices year over year. What the hell? Why is that a good thing? It isn't. As I said, for the U.S., it might be prices. You got to go back to 1971. Pepsi was a dime. Now it's $3. That's how you could measure prices, but you got to go back to 1971. You can't go back to last year to this year and say, there's no inflation. And I think a lot of it is Nabisco and Cheerios, and they're just raising prices. The bigger companies do. Now I am noticing my veggies are getting raised a little bit, but not like Oreos are now $2 or now $6. I mean, that's just insanity. I just don't buy them. And then you notice when you don't buy them, it's buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one at half off. I noticed that with my dark chocolate. So anyway, inflation is the worst thing that can happen. It kills the value of your dollar, making it worthless. explain to me in any world where that's a good thing. Darius in Russia, and they're inflating hers, and it takes $1 buys you 90 ruble, 100 rubles. Her prices have gone up. So explain how that's good. Explain how ruining your dollar is good, because I can't understand it. But again, this is where you can tell a Keynesian, because what does a Keynesian say? It's debt to GDP, it's prices. No, I've said many times about inflation. It's printing the money and you devalue it, which causes it to be worth less. So it's basically printing the money. It makes it worth less, which it looks like prices go up because you need more dollars to buy it. So how is that ever a good thing? I'm sorry. I don't understand this idiot. And don't go to Israel and say they had 200% inflation, and apparently that was a good thing. What are you talking about? For whom? So the prices were so expensive. How was that a good thing? How is it ever a good thing to ruin your dollars? It's like eating chocolate cake and saying that's a good thing. Yeah, you got diabetes and you gain 100 pounds and your blood pressure went up, but it's a good thing. I mean, it just blows your mind. I don't understand. Now this Mark Moss is an idiot also. I've heard him a couple times and I get sick. And so does this Luke Gromen. So when anybody mentions Luke Gromen, they are saying how stupid they are. And Luke Gromen brought up a few things about a balance sheet and debt and ratios, but he can't explain them. That's a Keynesian. A Keynesian will say stuff and not be able to explain it. And you go, I don't understand what he said. So it must be right because I don't understand. And if I don't understand it, then I assume it's right. No, if you can't explain it, then shut the fuck up. If you can't explain what's going on, shut up. Pure and simple. So we will see about that. I don't get that. That's why I'm very articulate in talking at a low level so you understand what the hell I'm talking about. Inflation is printing the money and making it worthless. So in what world is that good? Right? The only time it's good is if you have a mortgage or a car payment or a loan and you're paying back in inflated worthless dollars. That's the only time it's good for you, is when you pay them back in money that's not worth as much as the money you borrowed. But that's not a real good thing. Anyway, so I wanted to show you that. Let's go. I think I have some Stoic stuff. Here's a Stoic
If someone
one.
does these 8 things for you, don't take them for granted, because real ones are rare. 1. They defend you when you're not around. Loyalty is proven in rooms where you're absent. 2. They hold you accountable. A real one doesn't just hype you up. They tell you when you're wrong. 3. They respect your time. If they don't waste it, they value you. 4. They celebrate your success. Fake people get jealous. Real ones get proud. 5. They listen without waiting to talk. Genuine people hear you, not just wait for their turn to speak. 6. They keep your secrets. If you can trust them with your worst, they deserve your best. 7. They tell you hard truths. Flattery is easy. Honesty takes courage. 8. They check on you even when you're quiet. The real ones notice when you disappear.
And I am a real one.
I disappear tomorrow. This is the only thing you need to know. You're using cinnamon and apple cider.
Imagine a world.
That's me. I'm a real one. I was working at, well, I tell you, when I teach you now, I'm telling you, I'm being real with you. I'm telling you what inflation is. I'm telling you the dollar's worth it. I'm telling you to get into gold. When I was at Tenneco for the 4 months I was there, they had this stupid system called OneStream, which was by far the dumbest system I've ever seen. And I've worked at Ford and GM and Mercedes, and they all have a lot of systems. And the problem with the system is it would call things, instead of calling it a window, it would be a UD1 or a UD2. And I go, why don't you just call it a window and a door? Why are you calling it? Now we got to know what a UD1 and a UD2 is. And I would tell people in IT, this is the dumbest system I've ever seen. And I've worked at a lot of places. And I would never use this system or recommend this system. And they'd kind of look at me and I'm going, but I'm being honest. This is a stupid system. So they could do with it what they want. And, you know, in a bullshit environment, people would be afraid to tell the truth. Oh, it's a great system, you know, and it sucks. But I told them exactly what I felt about it. That might be why I'm not there now, but I don't care. Fuck them. That system was terrible. It was absolutely the stupidest system I've ever seen. And I would have told my boss had I had a little more time. I kind of kept quiet when he said, well, your assignment has been eliminated. And I was ready to, I would have embarked on, you know, saying they should have let you go, not me. I know 20 times more than you do, and I'm an Austrian economist, which everybody needs right now because the money is worthless. But I kept quiet. I didn't think that was the time to say that, but we all know what it is. Anyway, being stoic. So I'm trying to be stoic now with this bullshit of Luke Groman and Mark Moss and all these guys who don't understand what inflation is at all or why they look at debt to GDP. Is that supposed to be a number? No. The fact you have a lot of debt goes back to your dollar. Is this worth anything? If this isn't worth anything, it doesn't matter what your debt to GDP is because your GDP is fake because your money's fake. That's why there's so many billionaires, is because this is bullshit. This has no value. So it all comes down to this. If this has no value, that's why a lot of people are billionaires. That's why you can't trust your GDP because it's a made up number based on your dollar. So is your debt. It's made up based on those dollars, and it doesn't matter. And inflation is not measured by prices. It is measured by money printing, devaluing the dollar. So he kind of gets it, but then he talks inflation. So he doesn't really understand what inflation is, thinks it's prices. So that's where we get stoic and we go, here's where the most important thing of stoic is we know we're right. We know the Titanic is going to sink. We know the dollar is going out. We know inflation is devaluing the dollar, money printing, and we know it's the worst thing that can be there. And we're going to stick to our guns. You're not going to get me off that stance. A Luke Groman guy, if he interviewed me, I'd put him in his place. I wouldn't be nice to him. I would be, you're an idiot, basically, right? That's what I would call him. I would argue the inflation part and the money printing part and the debt. I would argue all of it. And when he'd say, well, we're just we're revaluing the gold on the balance sheet and then we're going to loan it out. And then I'd say, well, why don't we loan it out 5 times? And how are we going to give? Why do we need gold to just print money? Just print money. We don't need the gold there, according to you. So this is the problem. People need to explain what they're talking about. And we've got him nailed. The guy is an idiot. And he's a Keynesian. So when you get these Keynesians, they talk like Rickards. You don't know what the fuck the guy's saying. And Rick Rude, you don't know what he's saying. They just talk. And yesterday with Alligator, there's a part with Alligator that let me go through this with the Alligator. I don't think I saved it. I don't think I called it I didn't call it a like video. Let's see, Alligator. I love Trump. I'm going to audit Fort Knox. Yeah, maybe, maybe not. And then he kind of jokes, well, let's see if there's gold in it or not. And we know there isn't. All right. So Alistair McLeod, can Comex deliver the gold as demand soars 400%? So there's a question in here.
What are these things that we're doing right now that are really
that alligator can't answer?
Like some people haven't gone it.
Shut the
They
fuck
would
up.
dearly love to connect.
So they ask him, why hasn't gold been revalued? And the answer he gave, I have no idea what he was talking about. He wasn't even close to an answer. For some reason, they think gold having a low price is good because it balances against the dollar. This is his thought, right? But this is the thought. If we have a high gold price, the dollar will get hurt because everybody will run into gold and not the dollar. Well, why is that? Because the dollar is worthless. And yet, so he can't really, that's really the answer, I would say, is they're not interested in revaluing gold because they don't use it. And there isn't any in Fort Knox, or we would show it. If we had it, we'd say, here it is. Like I said, yes, we have the Montana rookie card. Here it is. See? But if I didn't have it and I said I had it, then I'm an idiot. Right? And I don't do that. I'm not an idiot, and I don't say things that I have that I don't have. Never. I show you my mantle card, my ore card, all the other cards I show you. Because only idiots lie. You're very insecure if you lie, and I'm not very insecure. So I was talking to Alyssa and the other day, I was driving her home and I said, you really got to cut down on your lying. And she got offended. Said, I don't lie. And I go, yeah, you do. I hear you call your boyfriend and you say, oh, I'm almost home. I'll be home in 5 minutes. And we haven't even left the house. We're a half hour from her house. And so I says, you do it when you say we've left. And that she's, well, I'm avoiding conflict or something. There's an excuse why she's lying. I said, just tell the truth. Say, I'm about to leave and I'll be home in a half hour. And if he doesn't like it, tell him to fuck off. I don't, because if you say you're 5 minutes from home and we're a half hour, you're not going to get home for a half hour. He's going to know you're lying. And then there's a trust issue. If you, how can I trust you? And there goes the relationship. And I tell her that, just stop it. You don't need to do it. So what? You're going to be home in a half hour. What is the problem with that? If you have a problem with a guy like that, then you shouldn't be with him. And she's not with him anymore. But I said, that's ridiculous. I said, just tell me the truth. It's fine. People respect the truth and people will like you for you. People don't like liars because they can't trust. It's a respect issue. You don't like me or know me well enough to respect me to tell me the truth. And that's where the problems arrive, when I take it as a disrespect and I don't like to be disrespected. And that's the problem. That's why I'm not with Jenna anymore. She was very disrespectful on the trip to Italy, always going, Howard, it's Positano, not Positano. And I thought that was very rude, disrespectful, because I'm saying, who the fuck cares if it's Positano or Positano? You know what I'm talking about. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just how I see it. And for you to keep saying, Howard, it's Positano, is really rude and disrespectful. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. So if you want me to help you with food and stuff, and you want to treat me like that, go fuck off. And that's what I basically did. I said, go fuck off. So in Mark McGuire, Mark tries to explain, let's see if I can get to the transcript. I don't like how they're quoting Andy Schechtman in this. This is about Mark McGuire. Why are you quoting Andy Schechtman? Let's see. This is later on. Well, let's just go.
Problem more than anything, because if you go back to the various acts defining a relationship between gold and the dollar, and here we're talking really until the end of Bretton Woods, there was always this link, if you like, between the dollar and gold. I mean, the dollar was always defined in terms of the weight of gold, if you like. This is what a dollar buys. Of course, we turn that the other way up, and we say, it's the gold exchange rate, dollar gold exchange rate is $35 or whatever. Now they raise it, they increase it to 42.22, and it's still there because of this legal position, if you like, that there has to be a relationship. If you like,
I think this is the question. So let me go back.
It is effectively suspended, and
Tax Act knows you might run into questions while filing your taxes, so we have experts on hand who.
Okay.
Here's the
Elon Musk
question.
is doing what he can with Doge and all the rest of it, but I mean, the numbers coming out of Doge, of actual cuts, are just too small for the size of the problem, if you like.
Yeah.
And it's not just America. I mean, most other countries, nations have the same problem in the Western alliance.
I agree with Alistair. I mean, if we get a real shortage of gold, it looks like that you're running out. It will never run out because it's just go up higher in price.
Yeah.
Well, what that means, there's 200,000 tons of gold. It's not like you can't use it up because it's indestructible. It just sits in one vault or another vault or another vault, but it's not something that you use up. You're not eating carrots with it where you're going to eat them and then they're gone. So gold will always be there, but to sell it, you want a higher price, because if I paid $3,000 for it, I'm not selling it for $2,000. I'm not selling it for $3,000. There's a price that I will sell it for, which is probably 10 or 15. And so what he's trying to say is this is what he doesn't get. He's like, well, the prices will go up. And as I explained yesterday with the Super Bowl tickets, the demand is more than the supply. Therefore, the price will keep going up because the demand will keep coming, forcing the price up because you can't get any more. You can only get 200,000 tons, which is already gone between the China, Russia, India, and the BRICS. Basically, it's gone. And the only way to get more is to raise the price, as Egon tells us. And that's it. So it never goes anywhere as far as it never gets used up. My gold in my safe is there. If you want to pay me, there's a point where I will sell it to you. It ain't at 3,000 because I feel the demand's very high and I'm going to wait till the price goes up. But as I'm talking with Luke Groman here with his stupid understanding of inflation, I need it because the dollar's worthless, right? And if the dollar's worthless, I need gold, and then gold goes up because the dollar is worthless, and then it becomes a gold-backed system. And when the gold-backed system happens, then if you have gold, it's worth a lot more, and it'll buy a lot more. That's why we buy the gold and silver now, waiting for the price to go up. So there's always going to be demand. And then the only way it goes up is prices going up. So Comex actually keeps the price down much lower than what the demand's dragging it. So in other words, the Super Bowl tickets were $5,000 a ticket. After the first 70,000 were sold, and the next 70,000 people wanted, the price goes from, let's say, 1,500 to 5,000, and that's what gold is. Gold is bought, but what Comex is doing is keeping the price down, even though the demand is much higher. So that would be like Comex handled Super Bowl tickets. They would be at $200, and you go, no, they're $5,000. No, Comex's derivatives would keep the Super Bowl price at 200, but you could get $5,000 for it in a real free market. And that's what I keep trying to explain is the gold, the demand is there. And so therefore the gold price is much higher, but Comex keeps that price down. So the Super Bowl tickets are 200 and you're like, no, they're 5,000. That's what gold is. Gold's 3,000. No, it's more like 20,000 because they're keeping the price out of the market. They're controlling the market. Comex, JP Morgan, not us, like the demand for Super Bowl tickets. Don't ever forget that. That's the key, because that's why we buy it and hold it, because we know the reality is it's worth a hell of a lot more because of the stupid Comex depressing the price. And that's why silver has to be 500 an ounce if you just let it run. Just the demand for it, just like the Super Bowl tickets, right? The demand is there. These companies are buying it not only for solar panels and car batteries, but also for money, right? How the fuck is it still 32 an ounce? Don't get caught into that trap and don't believe what you're being told, because they're fucking lying to you. All right. So now listen to this question. Why hasn't they switched the price of gold? Why is it still $42? And listen to Alligator's answer. He doesn't have a fucking clue. He gives some roundabout Mark McGuire answer, and you just see if you get an answer to this, and then we'll talk.
On gold, it's hard to get off gold. It's $42.22 an ounce valuation. If I could just ask you, Alistair, why has that never changed? Why have they never revalued gold? I mean, one could say now they don't have any, right? There are no holdings at Fort Knox, but there would have been holdings at Fort Knox. Normally, if you have an asset, a significant asset, it would pay to revalue it, especially if it had increased in value to the extent that it has. Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a legal problem more than anything, because if you go back to the various acts defining a relationship between gold and the dollar, and here we're talking really until the end of Bretton Woods, there was always this link, if you like, between the dollar and gold. I mean, the dollar was always defined in terms of the weight of gold, if you like. This is what a dollar buys. Of course, we turn that the other way up, and we say, it's the gold exchange rate, dollar gold exchange rate is $35 or whatever. Now they raise it, they increase it to 42.22, and it's still there because of this legal position, if you like. That's
what legal position? What's he talking about? There's no legal position. If they can make it $42 an ounce, they could make it to $2,900 an ounce. So he doesn't explain the position, and he will not answer the question. But we'll listen.
There has to be a relationship, if you like, between gold and the dollar. It is effectively suspended because nobody can, you certainly can't go along and redeem your dollars for 42 points at the rate of 42.22. Equally, it's very difficult without passing new legislation to move the official rate up. And then your problem is that this is an official rate which gets left behind by events, maybe too high, maybe too low. But, the market is now setting the rate. So there's this sort of legacy, as it were. But if you go back to 1933, when FDR's executive order forced you to exchange your gold and gold certificates for dollars, that was at 20.67. If they did it now, it would have to be at 42.22. I think we can rule that out, actually.
Yes, I think so too.
So what was the answer? I'm sorry, I listened. I'm missing the answer to the question why they keep it at 42 when it's worth 29. All right, Prophet, now to answer your question. All right. How does Comex determine the derivative value of paper gold in relation to physical gold? They use what's called derivatives, which are options. An option mostly are in stocks when it's 4% physical gold, 96% paper. And what they do is they do put options, which are they want the price to go down, or they do call options where they want the price to go up, or they think the price is going down or up. So right now it's 29.34.35. How does determine the derivative value? By dumping these derivatives out there, the paper gold and silver, as we refer to it. So the paper's the derivatives, the options, and therefore, if they do a bunch of derivatives and say we want the price to go down, the price goes down to a certain point where there's a derivative where the price is going up. That's how they determine it. So they want the price to go down. They do a put option, we want the price to go down, and the price goes down a little bit until it reaches the call option. So there's options all over the place, some put, some call. I want it to go down, I want it to go up. Go watch Trading Places and you'll see what they did. They sold the orange juice at 142 and they bought the orange juice contract at 29, and they made a ton because they'd already bought it first. They already sold it first and then they bought it. So normally we think of buying, you buy first and then you sell. They actually sold first and then bought. So they sold at a high number, 142, and bought it at 29. That's how they made the money. So that's really what they're trying to do by using derivatives to control the price. Oh, the price is too high, we'll short. Oh, the price is, and then here come BRICS saying, oh, we'll take delivery. We want the gold. And then they don't have the gold. And so they need to go get the gold. And then the price goes up as they need to get the gold. So it's sort of like this. Here's the difference. How do we determine this price? We put it on eBay. Okay, this has to be graded PSA 10. So let's assume it's PSA 10. So we put it on eBay and somebody buys it. What did they buy it at? 100,000. That's how we come up with the price. It's simply the free market. We sell it. There's a buyer. If there's no buyer at 100, we go to 90 or 80 or 70 or wherever. But the reason it's 100 is there was a buyer at 100. So that makes the card worth what the buyer would pay. That's how a free market works, right? I sell it, you buy it. What did you pay for it is the worth. Now, it's not fixed. So it's 100, but in another auction, it might be 95. It might be 120. That's why you see little different auctions with little different values in it. Now, that's how a free market works. In this case, there's nobody selling this card and there's no buyer, right? There's no seller, there's no buyer. Comex, JP Morgan, is running derivatives. And what's happening is China and Russia are taking delivery of the gold. Instead of doing the derivative, and in Comex, they're saying, I want the gold. At that price, at 2,800, I want the gold. And it forces the price up. And so JP Morgan's fighting the Chinese and the Russians who want the physical gold, and they want to keep the price down, and they can't. And now what they should be doing is not shorting it, but going long on it, hoping the price goes up. Or why the fuck them to just buy gold? So they're losing trillions of dollars, JP Morgan, by shorting, hoping the price drops. So a derivative is when you do a put option, the price of gold's $29.30. So if they did a derivative, a put option tomorrow at $29.30, they're saying I'm selling here, so I want to buy lower. So if it's $29.30, I want to buy it at $2,800. But if it doesn't go to 2,800, they lose the derivative, and they got to pay because it never got to the strike price, which is the price of the contract. So you're saying, well, I'm expecting this to go down $50, and I'll buy it lower than I sold it for. I just sold it first, and then I'm going to buy it. Or on a call, I buy it, and then I'm going to sell it higher. They should be buying and selling it higher, but they keep selling it to try to manipulate the price. And that's how it's done. So it's done through paper, 4% physical, 96% paper. And they're doing it to keep the price. That's why silver's still at 32. Silver is not, oh, I got silver. Do you want to buy it? Silver is, well, I'm doing a derivative and it's at 33. So we're going to short it and get the price down because we're shorting it down. We want it to go down. So they're doing shorts or put options. And this is the problem with COMEX. It's more of an option exchange, not a free market physical exchange where you actually have people with ounces of silver and people buying it. That's why it should be on eBay, not on COMEX. Now, what we know, since we know this is worthless, we then go and say, well, wait, this dollar is worthless. So therefore, the value of gold and silver is going to go to the moon because that's real money. So I'm getting off the Titanic because this has no value. Therefore, I get into something with value, and you can't print gold and you can't print silver. And those are money, and those have to be worth more, especially correlated to this. But even if it's not, you can't print gold and silver. So then it becomes a free market issue of demand and of supply. And the supply is so limited in both that now we see the demand for gold is huge and the demand for silver is even bigger. And the COMEX is being destroyed because they can't keep playing the game. The game was set up to price fix gold and silver, but without anybody taking delivery, with no physical, just we're going to exchange paper. I'm going to sell, I'm going to do a derivative, and then you're going to buy it. You're going to buy an option, and then I'll cover it. So New York and London just played this game. But it can only be played as if nobody took delivery and nobody wanted physical. And in come the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians saying, I want it. And there goes the game. And it's sort of like you got a ball and somebody takes your ball and the game's over. And that's what's happening now. So we don't really know the real price because we're not getting a free market price. So we don't know. We know this is 100,000. We know the Super Bowl tickets really should have been priced at 5,000. But because in the market, somebody bought this for 100,000, we know that's the value of it. That's how you get the value of things. We know this card's probably 35,000 because we've seen it in auctions where somebody actually paid for it. So if somebody's willing to buy it, that's the market. So they tell you about the house. So you go sell your house. Well, what's it worth? I don't know. What did other houses that are similar to mine sell for in the free market? And that's what your house is worth. Well, the one across the street sold for 500,000. Okay, I'm going to sell mine for 500. And the buyer's going to look and see, oh, across the street, it sold for 500. That must be what it's worth, 500. It's not really an efficient way, but it's the only way you can kind of go, well, if somebody paid for a similar product that amount, then I guess, and that's where I show you this. What are the other whiskeys selling for? What's Crown Royal and what's Jack Daniels and Maker's Mark and some of the Dewar's? What are they selling for? And if they're all selling for about 75, I feel pretty comfortable. I can sell this for 75. Again, it's 750 milliliter, but it's a 12-year-old, so it should go for a premium. Because whatever that means, that it's 12 years old gives it more value because we had to wait 12 years for it. I guess it improves the taste or the punch or whatever. Profit. Andy Warhol once sold a painting of a Campbell's soup can for $1 million. Well, I would assume you bought it because it was Andy Warhol. Why do you buy Picasso's? Why do you buy Van Gogh? So my Van Gogh there, which is strictly, this is a poster, the blue one. So why, because Van Gogh did it, it would sell for $1 million if it was a real painting. Why? Because Van Gogh did it. Why do you want why does this Montana rookie card get 100,000? Because it's a PSA 10. This isn't, but hopefully it is. But because it's a graded PSA 10, I don't have risk. I know the card's real. I know it's in great condition, and I know it's limited. So once you realize things are limited, and depending on who the player is, Mickey Mantle, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Willie Mays, once you understand that, that's why they have the value. So the guy didn't buy it because it was a picture of a Campbell soup can. He bought it because it was Andy Warhol who did it. And anything Andy Warhol is going to sell for a lot of money. That's why he did it, because it's who, the demand was created by who did it, not because it was a Campbell. He couldn't have cared. All the guy did was say, I have an Andy Warhol. That's like me saying, I got a Joe Montana rookie card. That's all. It's really all it is. My Barry Sanders, what happens? Well, here's a Barry. This is a regular card. It's not a rookie, but it's 99. I bought it because of Barry Sanders, but it's limited to only 99. That's what cracks me up with Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin's limited. It's only 21 million. And I go, yeah, I got a 99. I got 25 counts. I got a one of one Iserman. I think that's limited. So again, that's the whole point of this Bitcoin Ponzi scheme. Because Saylor says, oh, it's worth this. And that's the excuses they use. Well, there's only 21 million of them. And if you're in Italy, you can just open up your phone and get it. But if you took 100 grand on the airport or gold and cash, you'd have to claim it. You don't have to claim the Bitcoin, but you can't get it. So even if you did that, is it really worth 100 grand? We don't even know what it is. It's not even real. What is it? I at least have the card. I have the card. You don't have anything in a Bitcoin. You don't know it's 21 million. How could you? It's impossible to say there's 21 million. 21 million of what? It's not real. It's not an item. It's nothing. It's a computer thing. I mean, to say that and call it Bitcoin and it's worth 100,000, these people need their heads examined. Right? If you have a choice of getting $100,000 worth of gold or $100,000 in Bitcoin, you should be in gold, getting physical, holding it, putting it in your safe, and doing dances. As Prophet is getting a gold bar worth 103,000. Would you rather have the gold bar? It's a 1 kilo gold bar, or one Bitcoin that is not even visible, that you don't even know if it's real, that one day can be, sorry, since it really isn't anything, it's worthless, like the OneCoin and Bankman Friedman and all these other scammers, the guy in Argentina now, come with, oh, we're coming out with it. And it's all bullshit because nothing's real. If you can't hold it in your hand, it isn't real. Don't buy it. Madoff, what was he doing? Who the fuck knows? I gave Madoff $1 million so I can get 15% return on it. Yeah, what is it? What do you invest in, Madoff? Well, if you got to ask me, I can't tell you. What kind of answer is that? What are you kidding me? What do you mean if I have to answer? If I have to explain it, then I can't. You can't. I mean, that would be the red flag for me. Do I tell you how I pick football games? Absolutely. Do I tell you everything about gold and inflation? Absolutely. So if I just said, well, if you have to ask what inflation is, I can't tell you. You shouldn't be listening. It's insanity 101. So that's kind of what you're doing. Profit. And what happens if the internet goes down? How do you retrieve your Bitcoin? You're fucked, basically. No matter what happens, I've got my Montana. It's here. That's the point of it. I got my gold in a safe. I have it. I can't. Nobody. If you saw Attack on Wall Street, he has 60,000 in a real estate trust. So basically, people paying their mortgages, and he's supposed to be getting 8-9%. And all of a sudden, they defaulted on it because people weren't paying their mortgages anymore. So they discontinued his real estate trust. And all of a sudden, he looks in his account, he's got zero because he didn't have it. He didn't have it in his hands. So you're always better off holding your assets. not something that's digital. You're going to go to the bank and they're going to say, sorry, professor, there's, yeah, I know you got 80 grand in the account, but we can't let you have it because we're doing we're losing money. So we need your money to make ourselves whole. You're at their mercy. It's the stock market, when it crashes, you're going to be at the mercy. Well, I got 1,000 shares of Apple. Yeah, but you can't get it out. And you can't, because they changed the rules on you that you really don't own your stocks and you really don't own your money in the bank. Not only that, but the money in the bank's worthless anyway because they keep printing it. Because everybody but Luke Roman understands that inflation's bad. He doesn't think so. You can have 200% inflation, and that's a good thing. And you'll recover from it. You can never recover from it. I would assume let's look at that now. I'm curious. I would assume what happened was Israel came out with a new currency. So let's take a look. Let's see. That's my bet. My bet is Israel came out with a new currency. Well, I just bought my own membership. I thought I was signing up for something. All right, so let's go. Let's go to Google. So Israel currency from 1970 to present. All right. Israel's shekel, the new Israeli shekel. Date of introduction, January 1st, 1986. Replaced the old Israeli shekel. So this is the part, here you go, history. The origin of the shekel is from the Bible. Okay, so Moses came down and gave money, 400 shekels of silver, or whatever. The shekel is known, 180 grains, 11, okay. From 1948 to 1952. From 1952 to 80, we had the Israeli pound. So they switched currencies, and there you go. From 1980 to 1985, that shekel came out. The original shekel, now known as the old shekel, is the currency of the state of Israel between February 24th, 80 to December 31st, 85. Both it and its predecessors, the Israeli pound, experienced frequent inflation against foreign currencies during the 60s and 70s. The trend culminated in the old shekel experiencing hyperinflation in the early 80s. After inflation was contained as a result of the 85 economic stabilization plan, the new shekel was introduced. So Luke Roman's full of shit. He said, oh, they had 200% inflation and didn't do anything. No, they came out with a new one in 1986, January 1st. That's how you get out of it. And, so this is how your currency is worthless, right? They printed their currency to death. Here's a perfect example in 1985. And on January 86, they came out with a new currency because their old currency had blown up. And now let's see what it's worth now. I think there's a way to. So now $1 is worth 3.57 shekel now. So that's just like Zimbabwe. They came out with a new currency, the ZiG. The Russians came out with their 8th ruble. That's how you end it. You come out with a new dollar, but if it's not backed by gold, it becomes worthless anyway. So Luke Roman, what he doesn't know and forgot to say, everything was, what did he say? Everything was fine. The Israeli went to 200. The inflation went to 200%. So let's review that. Let's go back there.
Robinhood Gold is offering a 3% match on eligible contributions into your IRA. Put your
Jerome Powell was it? I mean, if you raise gold to 20,000, the whole world benefits from that.
Yeah.
Russia's going to benefit. Yep. China's going to benefit. Yep. And so now you have all of this money globally that's going to be sloshing around. Yep. And based off of sort of the way it's been going, maybe a lot of that capital comes to the United States.
It could.
So then we have massive inflation, right? You mentioned the Spanish Empire, right? So they went and discovered the gold in Peru or the silver, brought that back, created massive inflation, right?
Yep.
So
that's in the cake, though, right? Like I was talking with Dylan LeClaire yesterday. It was, we had a 25 to 30% aggregate inflation over 2 years, and debt to GDP didn't move. Right, debt to GDP was 121. It's 122% now, which tells you something really important. The inflation shock playbook that they were trying to run, inflation shock financial repression playbook, 25 to 30 wasn't enough. It needed to be 50, 60, or 60, 80% inflation for 2 years. And now because they were not brave enough, not courageous enough to do it right the first time, now it has to be like the 60, 80, those types of inflation numbers in a compressed period of time. That's what we're dealing with here because the debt and deficit levels are so high, and that's unpleasant, et cetera, et cetera. But Israel had 200% inflation for a couple of years in the 80s. Like no zombies, no collapse, no just.
I mean,
it's a smaller economy.
I'm sorry, no collapse. Really, your dollar went out. You needed to create a new dollar in 1986. He doesn't say that. Oops. And don't tell me that 90% inflation is good. A, you can't measure it, and B, it's not good. So he forgets to say, because he doesn't know that they came out with a new dollar. That's why the inflation went down. They did collapse. They went bankrupt. That dollar that I showed from 80 to 85 went to zero. They had to come out with a new dollar in 1986 to cure the inflation because their money was worthless. That's what inflation does. And don't say it doesn't have an effect, and don't say we can't go bankrupt. I just showed you Israel went bankrupt. Therefore, they had to come out with a new dollar because the old dollar was worthless. That's what happens. So that's what this when you come out with a new dollar, it's because this is worthless. And that's very, very close. And if the new dollar is not backed by gold, that will become worthless very shortly, because you can fool the people once, you can't fool them twice. So that's what's going to happen. So Luke Roman doesn't understand shit. He doesn't. High inflation is not good. Why are we looking at debt to GDP? I have no idea. Do I ever talk debt to GDP? We know there's debt, but it doesn't matter. The dollar's worthless. Until you have a strong dollar backed by gold, your money's monopoly money. So it doesn't matter what your debt and your GDP is. If your money is worthless, you're fucked. Oops. So he kind of comes across like that. And yeah, let's bring up the Spanish where they brought in their gold. Let's bring that example up because that happens like never. Spain had taken over Mexico and all the gold mines there, and the gold came in, and they just had a gold, and it kind of devalued the gold because of the supply, because there was too much. Sort of like what happens there's too much of a supply of this, and it makes it worthless. However, that was a good inflation. That wasn't a bad inflation. They just didn't handle the gold right. If you got all this gold, how is that bad? I mean, it should have been good, but they never understood it and they never used it properly. But let's bring up that example because that's happened, never, like once. All right. So back to Mark McGuire or Alligator.
Now, what you see behind me looks like a traditional shingle, but in fact, it's this panel right here.
We don't give a fuck.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay.
That's a very interesting answer, and there's going to be a lot of action going. We all know that. Alistair, we move on. There are a couple of books in my life that I've really passionate to read, and the first one was I'm talking about on politics or on monetary systems, so those two books are the number one being The Creature from Jekyll Island. I just found that so fascinating. I've read it 5 times and always picking up new information on reading it. The other one is this one, Presidents of the United States from George Washington right through to President Trump and the second term of President Trump. But what I noticed, and the story really comes from Egon von Grey's, who you know very well, and back these figures up, that it seems as though since 1971, and certainly from President Reagan's right through to now, every 2 terms of a president, most of the presidents do run for 2 terms. Biden didn't make it, by the way. He did 1 term. I'd hate to see him run 2 terms.
He never did one term. That was Obama.
2 terms, 8 years, right? And for every 8 to 10 years, the United States deficit doubles. You read the...
It's debt, not deficit. Guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. All right. Stupid question.
In November, came to Australia and were our keynote speakers. But Lynette says this, the global economy, she called it the tipping point and hyperinflation in her close. And she said, the global economy reached a tipping point in 2008, but the effects are now only becoming apparent. Monetary velocity, or how quickly money changes hands, has spiked.
That's Keynesian. Money velocity is not Austrian. We don't give a fuck how many times it changes hands. What we do give a fuck in is how much is printed. That's all that matters, is how much is printed dilutes the value of it. How many times it changes hands, you probably can't keep track of anyway. And what does that tell you? What difference does it make? So again, Lynette Zhang, you don't listen to because she's a Keynesian.
Indicating the start.
Actually, she's a stockbroker.
This pattern shift signifies that something has changed in the economy. Lynette then pointed out that the US is kicking off 2025 with more than 36 trillion in debt. We've already discussed that. Contributing to the stretched economy. She believes that the Federal Reserve and other central banks are adding to the problem by buying the debt there, thereby printing more money as it has proven to be sticky. This situation leaves little option other than hyperinflation. It is inevitable that we are going into a hyperinflationary depression, and unfortunately there's no option other than that, because we have to reset into a new system. While there is a lot of hopium around regarding the potential impact of a new presidency, Lynette believes there is no saving the system, adding, it is dead, it's too far gone. I've studied this since 1987. We are in an extraordinarily dangerous position, and it's critically important for people to create their own security. Lynette advocates for individuals to become your own central bank. You must hold gold and silver. And then Andy went on to say, reflecting on the current state of the market, Andy shared this perspective. I have a feeling something really big is happening. And I will tell you that in 35 years while I have been doing this, I have never seen anything like what is happening now. Your thoughts, Alistair?
All right. So Lynette is a Keynesian. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's basically a stockbroker. She's not an economist. She doesn't know. And Andy Schechtman is a salesman. He doesn't know. So you got two idiots who don't know what they're talking about. Basically, what's happening is this. Forget that. Forget this. You have to keep printing this to pay for your expenses because you've made government too big. You've got Social Security. You got the medical. You've got the defense spending, and you got the interest. So you got to keep printing money to pay for all this stuff. And the more you print, 36 billion goes to 37 billion. How long do you think that can keep going on before people go, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to buy the bonds anymore. And we're still going to have spending. And there's no demand for the dollar because the dollar is worthless. And so people will stop wanting the dollar. Once they realize it's worthless, and BRICS does, then it doesn't have a value. If I cannot sell this, once I realize this is worth nothing, if I can't sell it, it's worthless. If I can't sell it, if nobody will pay me for it, it has no value. And that's the dollar. The difference is this is, limited and there's demand for it. And what happens is there's no demand for it and it's printed too much. There's too much supply out there. Why do we like gold? Because there's only 200,000 tons. Why do we not like this? Because there's $160 trillion out there. There's too much supply out there. Nobody wants it because there's no value. Why do we want the Barry Sanders card? Because there's limited. It's only 99. If you took another Barry Sanders card that was not 99, maybe his pro set rookie, then it's just they made 1 million of them. Well, there's no demand because you printed too much. But if you limit it and you say it's 99, then you get demand because it is limited. This is the demand because A, it's Montana, but B, there's very few PSA 10s because the centering was such a problem on the card that it's very hard to get a PSA 10. So maybe there's 100 PSA 10s, which then intrigues and invites the buyers because they go, wow, this is limited and it already graded a 10, and that's what they'll pay for because they know it's good. They know it's Montana and a rookie. That's why a Picasso, or that's why this Van Gogh over here, if it was real, because he's dead. He can't print anymore. It's a Van Gogh. It's the Montana. It's the Picasso. It's the Montana. It's the Brady. That's why they buy it. Just, it could be Mickey Mantle, I think, had a driver's license that he signed, and it went for $50,000 because it was Mickey Mantle, and people want that. That's where the demand is, and this is losing demand. Nobody wants this because it's not worth anything. It doesn't matter what the debt to GDP is. The problem is, which these idiots, they don't even understand it. How am I supposed to teach the public to buy gold when these guys who are on there don't understand it? Luke Groman, people listen to him. He doesn't understand what inflation is and the value, and he wants to do debt to GDP, which is totally meaningless. It's the dollar. This is the point. If this is printed to death and worthless, it doesn't matter about the debt, the GDP, anything else. But when you have $37 trillion in debt, how are you going to pay it off? Well, according to Luke Groman, we got the gold and it's just on the balance sheet. We can just pay down $5 trillion. Well, then why don't you just pay down 37 trillion? Because you can't. Because if you put 37 trillion more into the market, there's no value to it, right? You've killed the value of it. You've already killed the value. So Luke and the guy interviewing him have no idea about it. And that's the problem. Now, Prophet, in your question, if the internet goes down, how do you receive your Bitcoin? There's no other way. It's a digital system. It requires the the internet. But gold doesn't. The mantle cards don't. Any physical assets, which is why I tell you, go buy this. Go buy real physical gold. Go buy your Montana card. Go buy a Rolex and hold it. Anything that you can hold, nothing, you don't have to worry about it. But the problem is going to be, what do I do when the dollar is worthless? How much is this worth? Well, this is worth $0 in dollars. So let's go back to Israel. As I pointed out in 1985, the inflation was huge. But in 1986, they came out with a new dollar. Now, so in 1985, this would be worth $0 for Israeli dollars. However, in 1986, they came out with a new dollar. Then this would get repriced. Still wanting gold for this, not another Israeli dollar not backed by gold. And it's amazing how stupid these people are not to back their currency by gold. This is all the problem. When you got a George Soros running things, he doesn't want gold because he can't steal from you and he can't keep printing it. So he keeps printing the money. He probably turns it into gold. He would, being a Nazi, he would know about gold. Hitler knew about it, and look what happened to them. But they got rich stealing all the gold, which is what World War II was. Now you're actually fighting a war in the Ukraine, I guess, for minerals, for oil. What are you doing? Why? Because it costs you a lot more money than you're getting. And then I see Trump. We want to get the Panama Canal, and we want to get Greenland, and it's all bullshit. He's just talking out of his ass. You're not buying any of it. It's not for sale. And you don't have any money to buy it anyway. What are you going to give them? Well, we'll give you all this. Maybe that's what he's going to do. I'll pay you in this, which is worthless. So if I was Greenland, or if I was the Panama Canal, I don't want this. Nobody wants this. Who's going to trade with you? Why would I don't want to sell my gold to get this. I don't want to sell my Montana to get that. I want to get the gold because that's real money and that can't be printed and it can't be inflated, which is devaluing it. You can't devalue gold. You can do it with Comex fake, that's not real what Comex is doing with gold and silver. So if we understand that, we go and we go buy as much silver as you possibly can buy and just wait for the market to start pricing it at $500-$600 an ounce on its way to 2,000. That's what you wait. That's what you want. It can never go down, and they can't even hold. They're trying to hold the price back down to 20. They can't. There's too much activity because now the game with Comex is we're going to buy it. We want to buy the physical, not play with the derivatives. And that's what's changing Comex now that they're going to take the physical instead of the derivative, then bye-bye Comex. And here goes the prices. And that's about to happen right now. Profit. What was the point of going off the gold standard in 1913? Central banks, they wanted to print the money because they had to pay for World War I and World War II. Wars are very expensive, obviously. You gotta, not only, all right, you're obviously feeding the man every day anyway with having an army. You got to get them weapons and you got to get them bullets. You got to have tanks and you got to have planes and you got to have ships and jets. So you need all this where maybe you have a little of it, but when you go to war, what do we remember in World War II is the Russians were now producing all these tanks every day. Well, that costs money. So when you go into war, you need more bullets, you need more guns, you need more rockets, you need more tanks. And so that costs money, and gold will not allow you to do that. With gold, now we did have the Civil War, 1876, North-South. And now we play the North-South football game. But we had that, and how did we pay for it? Well, I showed you there's 4 ways to pay for it. You either do bonds, or you tax the people, or you do fiat money or fiduciary money. Fiat being government money, fiduciary being bank money. But you can only, if you have gold, you can only print as much money as you have gold. That's why the best is probably bonds, because people are then buying the bonds, and then you take the bonds to buy the weapons and feed the soldiers and build the tanks and build the jets. But the other problem with war, there's no revenue. It's all expense. So you're building all this stuff, but there's no, you're not generating revenue to pay for it. How do you pay for all this? Out of thin air. So with the gold standard, I got $1 billion in gold. I can only print $1 billion of dollars. But if it costs me 10 billion to have a war, where do I get the other 9 billion from? I got to print it, which means I can't be on the gold standard and go to war. So this leads you to understanding that JP Morgan, and I believe I've read it, but I find it again, basically did weapons to both sides, sort of like Sherlock Holmes 2, where the guy does weapons for both countries. And that's what JP Morgan did. He provided weapons for both. Henry Ford did that. He built cars for the Nazis and cars for us. That's why I will not buy a Ford. And that's the problem, right? So you can't do that with gold. That's why you don't have wars. You didn't have a war from 1876. We went back on the gold standard. The Civil War to 1913, you had 0 wars. You had 5% production and 5% increase in the economy of the whole world. It was the best time in the world, was 1876 to 1913. We were on the gold standard. The whole world was. You'd think, why would you get off of it? But that's what JP Morgan does. And he wants the monopoly. So he got the printing press. JP Morgan is about monopolies. He's the most crooked guy in the world. And he's like George Soros, and he wants the monopoly. Well, we'll print it. You never want a monopoly printing your money. You want competition. But more importantly, you want it backed by gold. You can't just have money without it backed by gold. If it's just money, it's worthless right away. As soon as they come out with it, it's worthless. The Israeli money in 86 is worthless if they didn't have it backed by gold, which I don't think they do. Right now, the only country with gold is Zimbabwe with the ZIG. And now you got BRICS, who's smart enough to understand, oh shit, if we have gold, our money's worth something, and we're the kings. And that's the number one power since the Romans, the Roman Empire, has been the one with the gold. The Romans, the French, the English, the Spanish, the Amsterdammers, the Netherlands, and Britain, England, and then the U.S. got the gold after World War II, after World War I, because the British paid us for our arms in gold, and then Bretton Woods in 45 after World War II. Somehow we got the gold, and we made the golden rule, and now we gave up our gold, and that's what we're fighting to say, oh, we got 8,000 tons of it. No, we don't. We have 0. And now that's why that's why the whole BRICS will now be the ones with the gold making the golden rule. Instead of just China doing it, it'll be the BRICS countries. China, Russia's smart enough to get 25,000 tons. They're going, wait a minute, we want to be number 1 too. And then you got India over here, and you've got, as you saw, the lines in China and everybody buying jewelry. So everybody realizes that gold, the golden rule, is the key to it. And that's what's happening. And that's why you get your wars, is you get off gold, because you can't print more than the gold you have. So ideally, you have $1 billion, you print $1 billion worth of this. If I want, I go to the bank and say, give me my $1 worth of gold, or give me $1,000. And they have to give you the gold equivalents. If you come in with 1,000, they got to give you $1,000 worth of gold. And that's the thing. And then you go to the eat, or you go to the grocery store, and the currency is now backed by gold. So the $10 bill buys you 1 million things at the grocery store, unlike now. Now you can't even, if you fill your cart, it's got to be $500. So now you have, when this goes gold back, it'll be back to, you fill your cart with $20 worth of gold, and that's how you'll pay for your food. And that's where we're going. But that's how it's going to work. And when you get off of gold, that's when you need the wheelbarrow. Have you ever heard of needing the wheelbarrow in Roman times? And French and English, not when they had the gold. You never had that problem. I'm not really sure Spain, because they got all this gold in from Mexico, what really caused the inflation. Because I can't imagine I have too much gold. That's like saying I got 100 Montana cards. Well, I don't see where that's a problem. Maybe that would be if I try to auction off 100. Let's use this as the example. So I've got 100 Montana PSA 10s. That will hurt the value of the Montana, because if I just have one, it's 100,000. But if I try to auction off 100 at the same time, don't ever do that. Then they start going down to 20, 30,000. And I think that's what they mean by the inflation. There was so much gold that the value of the gold dropped because it was too plentiful. So if I have 100 PSA 10 Montanas, auction one at a time. Don't auction all 100. You'll not get the 100,000, because then they'll see demand and then they'll only give you 30,000 instead of 100. So you would want to auction off one at a time every couple months, not all 100. So profit in your case with the gold bars, you would never want to have an auction on eBay with 25 gold bars. You would want to do one at a time, maybe two at a time. That would be it. But you just two here and one or two here and one or two here. That's how I would do it. Not, oh, I got 25 gold bars. You won't get the money for it. That's kind of what the inflation is. There's too much supply, so it hurts the demand goes down because it's too plentiful. So you want to keep it scarce. So maybe that's what the inflation meant. They had so much of it, the value went down of the gold bars, but just for a minute. But don't use that as, oh, see, gold's inflationary. No, it's not. Just like the Montana, like you want to call this inflationary. It's not. It's worth, if you just do one at a time, they're worth 100,000. But if you do 50 at a time, you're not going to get 100 for one. And that's what happened with the gold. You had so much of it, it lost part of its value. But I'm sure the value came right back up, as you can see now. So is it safe to sell gold bars on eBay? Sure. Absolutely. I would go to the gold store. See, I have a store a few miles away. I would take my gold there. The difference is eBay, you're going to pay a commission on it. eBay apparently charges the tax, so you don't have to worry about the tax. Then you got to ship it. So if I sell it, it's $29.30. I'm going to sell it for $30.30. I'm going to increase it 100. But then I got to pay commission on the auction. I got to ship it. Now I wait till I get paid. He's going to pay me on PayPal, and there you go. And then you take a picture of it and you send it to him. And then so you get the money first, but now you've got shipping cost and the auction cost. And on $3,000, I'm sure the auction cost is a pretty penny. So you can, if you need to, it's definitely an outlet. If you go to the store, you might get spot. So I might get $29.35 if I go to the store, where I could get $30.35 on eBay. But I got shipping and with insurance, and then the auction commission that I got to pay. So all that goes into it. So I'm not sure if you make any more, even though you get an extra 100 because of the commission and stuff. And then it's easy. If I go to the store, he gives me the spot and I get the money and I leave. Or maybe I think he might give me a check. I don't know. I don't care. I'll go to the bank and cash the check. But that's what would happen. So yeah, you can certainly do auctions on eBay. Again, I wouldn't do, unless you're trying to sell 5 bars in one auction and get 500,000 for it. I would just keep it to 1 bar an auction. But if you find a gold store, if you want to come to Detroit, I'll walk you to mine, you can just sell it there. He'll just give you a check for it, and off you go. So that's what I would do. I would prefer to go to I'd prefer to go to the store to buy it, and then I give them the money, and there's no tax, there's no shipping, and I get it, and then I leave doing singing and dancing, because I just bought a a $10,000 ounce of gold for $3,000 because the guy doesn't know how to price it because he's pricing it at Comex prices instead of the real price, which nobody knows. Nobody knows what this price is. We know Comex is $29.30. We don't know what the demand for gold and silver are. We don't know what the real price is. I guess 10,000. In other words, what will people pay for gold and silver? So we know it's $29.30, but will people pay $6,000 for it? Will they pay $10,000 for it? And once they realize this is worthless because they don't listen to Luke Groman, once they realize that this has been printed to death and has no value, you have to sell it. And the only thing you can get into is the gold and silver, or you can get into this. But I'd rather get into the gold and silver with most of my money. I got to get out of the dollar. I got to go to gold and silver. And because you're giving me this discount at $29.30 or 3,000, and I think it's worth 10, I'll buy it all day at this cheap price because I know they're trying to suppress the price with these derivatives. So they're keeping the price down, not the real free market price. So as long as I understand that game, I'll buy as much silver at $32 and as much gold as I can possibly buy because I know the price is bullshit. And since this is a worldwide price, since the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians and the Saudis and Dubai and all these people are buying gold, there's huge demand, and there's still only 200,000 ounces of which is already gone. So all that's left is this 200,000 tons. And what's left is the 3,000 tons produced out of the mines every year, which is already gone. There's much more demand than 3,000. And all the central banks are buying it. So, that's the point of it. You don't really have another lifeboat. And that's what I try to explain. The only lifeboat you have with Titanic sinking is gold and silver. There's no other way to play. Yeah, you can get the Montana card, kind of a lifeboat, but I'd rather have gold and silver first, right? So would I rather buy this for 100 grand or gold for 100, or 100,000 in gold? I'd rather have the 100,000 in gold. This was a fluke. I happened to buy it in the mid 90s for maybe $100, maybe $2. So I was, again, 5 steps ahead of the game back then, buying these cards. Even buying the Brady card, I couldn't have spent more than $100 on this card. And I get it graded, and it's a refractor, and it's his rookie, and it's worth $30,000, $40,000. But I didn't spend $30,000, $40,000 on it. I spent $100. I'm a pretty fucking dangerous finance person. David, hi. How are you? Good Sunday. Let's see. Profit. Once the dollar crashes, what other option is there but to buy gold and silver? That's the point. There is no other option. The BRICS currency will be gold back. Can we buy the BRICS currency? I don't know. Can we go to Russia and buy it? I would assume you could in Russia or China or the other BRICS countries. That would be your only option is gold or the BRICS. That's my point. You can't go into the euro and you can't go into the Swiss franc or the British pound or Zimbabwe. Well, the Zimbabwe you could if if you got the ZIG, the gold back. But you can't, there's no other currency to go to because they're all the same. They're all printed to death. The valuation and or as we call it, the inflation of the dollar, you've killed them all. And you've killed every other dollar. So there is no other spot to go to, which is why I call it the lifeboat. Your only lifeboats are gold and silver because you can't print them. It's like Barry. There's only 99. There can't be any more because they're numbering it 99 for this card. And that's basically what gold and silver are. You can't print anymore. You can only take out of the ground what you can take out. You can't inflate it. You can't counterfeit it because there's machines that can say this isn't real. And gold's gold. If it doesn't look gold, it's not gold. So if the color's off, it's counterfeit because you actually need gold to get the gold color that you want. And so there's no other way around it. It'll go, man, this is awfully red and awfully pink. And there's some blue in it, there's some silver in it. Wait a minute, this can't be gold. And then you take it and get it tested out, bring your magnet with you. And if it sticks, it's not gold. So you would know if it's gold or not by looking at it. But that's why you buy Eagles and Cougarans and Maple Leafs, because they're made by the government. And how do you counterfeit that? So I think the silver that gets counterfeit are these rounds that are not from the mint. So you got to be careful with that. But they do say 999 1 ounce. In my guy's store, I know he's checked them. So I trust that my guy has looked at them, and he's only going to sell accurate silver. So that's the point of going to a store that you trust, that you spend a lot there. He is not going to sell counterfeit gold. The guy off the street or the guy from China who's selling the silver at $20, run away from, don't walk, because who in their right mind has 35, let's say it's 35 an ounce. Why would you sell it for 20? It's silver. It's a no-brainer. You of course sell it for 35, maybe 36. Profit. Okay. So once the dollar, thank you, David. Once the dollar collapses, that's your only out. Do you have a mantle card? Yes, I do have a mantle card. I will show it next class. I don't want to take the time to go into the safe and find it. But yeah, I have a 1968 mantle card, the one his last year. It's in beautiful condition. It's at least a 9. We saw the 9 going for 80,000. I'm hoping it could be a 10. I was again, like the Joker, I was 5 steps ahead. I knew I wanted gem mint cards if I could get it back in the 90s. I knew condition mattered, because we'd look at cards and we wouldn't want them because the corner was creased, or there was a wrinkle in it, or it was written on, or the corners weren't sharp. And so therefore I knew I want 4 sharp corners and centered and a good picture. And that's what this is. This is about the most centered Montana card that I could find. And it's a little bit off center, this to this. It's a little bit thinner there, but I think I could still get a 10 on it. Otherwise, corners are sharp, picture's sharp, the back is sharp. So this hopefully can get a 10. I don't see why not. And I think on these cards like this, they're more lenient to do a 60-40 and give you a 10, because they are so hard to get. You almost never find a 50-50, very few of them. But the corners are sharp and everything else. So yes, I have a mantle, and I will happily show it next time. I think I showed it like a week ago. I don't think I brought out the mantle. I'll bring out the mantle. What about a Babe Ruth card? I have a weird Babe Ruth card. It's a 1961 Flair Babe Ruth card, but it's not in. It's a PSA 7. And then I have one with him and Ted Williams, but they're like, they played in the 30s and 40s, and this is a 1960 card showing those two in it. So I can show you those two, but the Ruth card I didn't pay much for, but it's a 7 and it doesn't have a big value. And then I got the starting lineup. I think I have Ruth DiMaggio or Ruth Gehrig and a DiMaggio mantle, which I'm surprised aren't worth more, but I think they are getting, like, the cards. They came with the figures and the cards. I can show you one next time. And those are probably worth a lot more. It's sort of like like this card, you think, well, it's worth a few $100s. And then you realize, well, wait, if it's a PSA 10, it's worth 100. So if these figures are PSA 10s, they're worth a lot more. So you got to realize, if it's in perfect condition, it's worth a hell of a lot more than you think it is. And there's one of these coin guys who doesn't understand cards at all. Says, well, baseball cards, you can't make money on those. Oh, really? It shows you, again, you're showing how stupid you are when you make stupid comments like that. You can make a fortune. If you got the right player and they're in the right condition, you can make a lot of money. If that mantle's a 10, it's a 1968, says last year, thing's got to be worth $1 million. It could be a 10. It certainly looks like a 10, so I will show you that. Corners are sharp, picture's perfect, centering's perfect. Not a scratch on it, not a wrinkle on it. This right out of the pack. So we will see. But again, it's because it's demanded. So what is it? It's something that's limited because it's older, high demand. Ruth, Mantle, Gehrig, DiMaggio. I mean, any of these superstar Yankees are worth a fortune. The Montana rookie, I got an Earl Campbell rookie, I got a Walter Payton rookie. They're all worth a ton if they're 10s, and the Payton might be a 10 too. I'll show you that. And you're buying something that's extremely limited, but it must be graded for proof that it's a real card and it's a real condition. So if I get the Payton and it comes back a 10, means it's gem mint and it's real. Now you have no risk in the portfolio, and you're a Payton fan. You'll pay me a couple $100,000 for the card because it's extremely rare. And the more limited something is, and the more demand something is, the higher the price, as we know. So that's what we're looking to do with the cards. It's an asset. Now, it's not money. The difference between gold and silver are actually money. Now, again, I would rather have 100,000 in gold than 100,000 than this card for 100,000 or Bitcoin for 100,000. Again, Bitcoin, we don't even know what it is. You can't say, "Oh, I got a Bitcoin." Look, you can't, because it doesn't exist. I don't know how stupid people are and why they're so stupid. Oh, well, Bitcoin's worth 100,000. It must be that. So I think a lot of times people, psychology is if Joe has it, then it's okay. Or in Madoff, well, my dad's in Madoff and he's making money, so I'll go in Madoff. Well, what is Madoff? Well, he won't say. And he says, if I have to ask not to invest, but my dad's making money in it, therefore I'll get in it. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's just like Madoff. Well, my Uncle Joe's in Bitcoin and he bought it at $5 because everybody bought it at $5. And now it's worth 90, I think it was 92, 93,000 on Friday. I don't know what's worth today. I don't waste my time with it. But because my Uncle Joe and Pete and Fred and all my friends are in it, I'm going to get in it. Well, what is it? I don't know, but they're in it. And I think that's the problem. People are lazy. They don't want to know how it's getting its value and what is it. So they do it because their friends are in it. And then they end up all losing all their money, crying I'm broke because they didn't take the time to ask the question, what is it? Why does it have a value? How does the value work? We know how this is. This is Montana. This is his rookie card. How does the value? Because I do an auction and I go sell it and somebody's willing to pay me. That's where the value comes in. That's where we know the money is. If I want more, I got to get it graded. That gives me 100,000, PSA 10, PSA 9, I maybe get 10,000 for it. That's how it works. How does Bitcoin work? I have no idea. How does it get the value? I don't know. There is no market for it. It's not on eBay where somebody is selling and buying it. I don't even know how you buy it. And then I know there's a tax consequence to it. There's no tax consequence to this. I bought it for $100. Let's say I get a 10, it's worth 100,000. I have no tax consequence. I don't know. It's not like interest income or anything like that. When I sell it, do I have to pay 1099? I don't think so. I never paid any tax on any cards I sell. It's not clear. They don't know what I bought it for. They don't know what I sell it for if I go to a trade show. Now, if I do it on eBay, they would know what I sold it for 100,000. They would know that. They don't know what I bought it for. And I don't know the tax implications of that. But it is a collectible. And I like how they keep calling gold a collectible. Gold is not a collectible. Gold is money. There should not be any 1099. I didn't make money on a collectible. I made the value of it went up as far as I'm concerned. Bitcoin is not good. Why are so many people into that these days? Well, that's the point, David. People are in it because their friends are in it. Their father's in it. Their uncle's in it. So because it's gone up in value, people think, oh, it'll just keep going up in value. It'll never go down in value. This is what people think. Why do people think that? I have no idea. This is the problem. People don't understand it. So you don't want to get sucked into a game where because other people are in it, I'm going to get in it. I don't want to be left out. It's 100,000. So what do you think? It's going to go to 200,000? Good luck with that. Do you know why it goes up and down? No, you don't. Oh, because Larry Fink's doing derivatives to push it up and down. So if you don't understand it, why would you get into it? You don't own anything. You don't actually have a Bitcoin. So this is the whole point I'm making is what is it, right? If you can explain what it is, it's digital, it's not real, and that's where you lose me. It's not backed by anything, and that's where you lose me because we know this isn't backed by anything, and this is worthless. We got that. We don't buy that Bitcoin's real, and we don't buy there's 21 million of it. Says who? Well, there has to be. Says who? We don't even know who this Mr. Fuji guy is who invented it. You think if you invented it, you'd be like, yeah, right here, I invented Bitcoin. Nope, we don't even know who it is. We don't even know what it is, but we know the value is pushed up bullshittedly by Larry Fink and this other idiot guy. Who knows if George Soros was in it. But just because the value's up doesn't mean it's a good buy like Madoff. Madoff really never went up. He just gave you gave him what, 500,000, he'd give you 15% a month. The value of your 500,000 in Madoff never went up. Now I'm worth $1 million, now I'm worth $2 million. It was, here's my investment, 500,000, and I'm getting 15% every month or whatever per year, whatever he did. And that was it. He would pay off people. That's the amazing part. He actually, everybody in the scam in the 80s and 90s got paid off. You'd get your 15%, and if you wanted, you could pull it. But people were stupid and they didn't understand. And they said, no, I keep getting the 15%. I'll just keep going with it. Just like if you're at craps and you're up, you start with 1,000 and now you're up to 5,000 and you're hitting your 6s and your 8s and your 9s and your 10s, and you're not smart enough to pull your money or pull most of your money. So if you start with 1,000, you're up to 10, you better pull 5,000 off the table. No, I can't lose. Now let's play the other 5. If you don't do that and you lose all 10, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be playing because you don't understand how to win. You only understand how to play, but winning is the key. You're there to win. When you go to the casino, you play poker, you play slots, you play blackjack, roulette. You're there to win. That's the first point. I remember playing poker and some guy asked me, I don't get this, play to win. Well, what are you here for? Or quit a winner. That was my thing. I quit a winner. And they didn't understand it. Well, what do you mean? I don't understand quit a winner. Because I'd sometimes quit up $50. Like they couldn't understand. Well, why are you leaving? You're only up $50. Because I'm a winner. I'm up $50. I got lucky and I won. I got lucky. I hit trip 2s. That's the point. I could easily lose with pocket aces to trip 7s and I'm fucked. Or somebody hits the flush on me or the straight on me. So that's what you always had to understand. Quitting a winner. That's why you're gambling or investing in anything. And that's what you're doing in Bitcoin. You got to quit a winner. In gold, we're going to quit a winner. But at this point, the price is so low, the price is nowhere near quitting a winner. If you got 100 ounces at $2,000 and now it's 2,900, you made $900 times your 100 ounces. You made $90,000. Do you quit? No, because the problem with gold is if I sell it and take my profit, I'm back in this. And I don't want to be back in this. That's why you're into the gold. So you made money, but you don't profit take. But you're not going to lose. You can't, it's not going to go back down to 2,000. Gold's only going to go to 5,000, to 10,000 to get to where this price is. So this price is here and the derivative's here and the derivative went up and you made money and it went up and you made money. But until you're here, you're not selling because You don't want to get back into the Titanic. So you're waiting for this price. So that's why you're not selling your gold and silver, but you don't have a risk. All right, this Comex, this is going up. You don't have a risk that this price goes down, right? You're here. There is no going down. It's this going up is what's happening. That's why you don't profit take gold and silver, because it's not anywhere near its high. It's a little different animal than playing craps or blackjack or poker, where you can lose. It's winning and losing. Oh, I had aces and the guy, flopped a set of sevens on me and I lost. That can't happen in gold, right? And that's the difference. But that's why you own physical gold. Are you doing any baseball or basketball bets? I will do basketball playoff bets because it's all psychological. A team down 3-1, have their back against the wall. I'll bet on that. I don't really know the player regular season. I don't like basketball. I don't really have my stats because I so into football that it's hard to do that. Baseball, I will do picks. I won't sell them, but I'll do, again, mostly based on pitchers, and then trying to figure out this 5-inning crap and things like that. So the same logic for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then I might go 11-2 on Monday and 2-11 on Tuesday with the same logic in the pitchers. But pretty much I have baseball pretty figured out as well as you probably can, but I can do that. So not, football is the prime. Even that college I have to rethink because of all these transfers and the DIL or whatever, NIL, where there's so many coaches and players transferring out that you almost just have, like Indiana. I caught Indiana early and I knew that they had a great coach and a good quarterback. And so I made a lot of money on Indiana, but a lot of teams that transferred, you don't know for the first few weeks. Cam Ward went to Miami. You didn't know, he choked at Washington State. You didn't know what he was going to do at Miami. And then Van Dyke went to Wisconsin from Miami. He got hurt in the Alabama game. So you've got to get used. Cam Rising never played. I mean, he played one game, got hurt, and that was it. I have a feeling his career is over. Too much knee problems and stuff. But it's too bad. He was a great quarterback. The same thing with Van Dyke's a great quarterback, but he's hurt, so we'll see. But I'll definitely do some baseball picks. And then as far as basketball, the playoffs, the tournament, I can't name one player in college basketball. I don't have the interest. I don't like this one and done crap. So, but maybe the final 8 and then the final 4 and then the finals. I can see who's there and how the tournament's going the first weekend to then make picks the second and third weekend. So I can do a little with that. Mostly I'm focused on the gold and silver. I barely go down and play poker now because I'd rather take the $300-400 and buy silver because it's a no-brainer. I know I'm going to win with silver. I don't know if I'm going to win with poker. As good as I play, there's still risk that my aces lose to a set of sevens. My straight loses to a flush. That still happens. The silver, there's no risk. It's going up. But you have to understand it's the derivatives. But, yeah, just ask me if you have questions or you want me to look into a game, I can analyze it. Again, basketball, we're looking at points for, points against, and who their players are. And then you got to be careful. And then the NBA back-to-back games because that's going to affect it. And then hopefully if a guy sits out, you are aware that he's sitting out. That's the problem with the NBA. Baseball is pretty much, the pitcher. If Verlander's going, we're betting on him, the good pitchers. I think a lot of it is they're trying to have these pitchers pitch 100 miles an hour and their arms are falling apart. Because it's all analytics. Oh, if you throw 100 miles an hour, you get more people out. Yeah, but he only can play for 2 months, and then his arm's gone, and you've killed the arm, and that's another part of analytics that they don't look at. Just like going forward on fourth down, you got to realize if you don't get it, you lose the game. But that's not part of the equation, is it? It's just, 80% of the teams that go on 4th and 1 get it. And so therefore, the ones that don't get it, especially inside their own territory, lose the game 99% of the time. But they don't want to tell you that part. So again, we're in gold and silver strictly because you can't print it, you can't inflate it. It is money, and that's why we're in the Berry card. There's only 99 of them. They can't inflate this. That's it. 99 Barry Sanders. It's limited. It's Barry. What the fuck? I mean, that's gold, right? It's high demand. There's very limited supply, and it's not something that moves. As I said, because this is the real price and the COMEX price is here, the Russians and the Chinese aren't selling it. They're buying and buying and buying because they understand the same thing. This is the concept. This is the real price. This is the COMEX price. So why would I don't want to sell when it's only worth this, and then I have to go back and get this. I don't want to sell my gold for this. So nobody is selling gold. There is no profit taking. There is nobody selling it. So therefore, you keep buying more and more and more, which is what's happening. And it's gone. There's not any left. The only thing you go to the store is if somebody came and sold gold because he needed to eat or pay a bill. He sells his gold because it's an asset. And that's what's going to happen when the stock market crashes, when the banks start crashing, when people can't pay their mortgages and their car payments, and that'll kill the bank. And then they'll start taking money out of the banks because they need money. The people in Japan and the people in the UK and Germany who have their money in the US banks because they don't trust their own banks. So I'm sure Russia and China, nobody trusts their banks. I show you videos in China. The guy's got 1 million yuan in his bank and he wants 100,000 to pay for school and they won't give it to him. Sorry, you can only have 5,000. So believe me, the richer guys in China have their money here, JP Morgan and Chase. But when they need money, what are they going to do? They're going to pull it out. And there goes the bank. That's what happened to Credit Suisse. The Saudi prince wanted his 10 billion out and there it collapsed. They don't have the money. They don't have the money in the bank. So keep that in mind. Verlander signed with the Giants. Oh, that's good. It doesn't matter what team he's on. It's just let me know when he's pitching and we'll bet on him. Interesting because he signed for the Mets. He ended up back at Houston. And then how stupid was their manager? He didn't play him in the playoffs. I thought was incredibly stupid. A guy like Verlander is a big game pitcher like Jack Morris was. He wants to be in the big games, and you should play him in the big games. To not play Verlander in the playoffs, I thought was a huge mistake. The coach should be fired for that. And then he played some shit pitcher, and the guy, they crushed him. He lasted 2 or 3 innings and gave up 7 runs. Even if Verlander does that, he's still Verlander. You got to do that. But Verlander is much more focused. He's been there, and he knows how to handle it. And you've got to have him on your playoff roster. Profit. I know in baseball they are bringing in the challenge system for balls and strikes. Yeah, that's a big mistake. Nobody's going to watch anymore. Leave the game alone. You have umpires. They're going to make mistakes, but who cares? That's all right. Let them make mistakes. It's fair for both teams. They make the mistakes for both teams. Who cares? You're not going to get every pitch correct. Now, again, this is just preseason where they're doing these robots. And again, it's just for challenging. I think it's a huge mistake. Why do you have the umpire there? I mean, you're defeating your own purpose. You should have the umpire there, and you don't. What are you doing? So like I watch old college football games. The 1974 Dolphin Raider game, the catch game. The refs make very few mistakes. The Blitnikoff out of bounds catch was out of his toe hit out of bounds. And then the next catch, you couldn't tell. He caught it one-handed. Should have been pass interference on the Miami guy. But he does it looks like he gets his knee down before he goes out of bounds. But, it's not like we went, wait a minute, let's stop action it and let's see. Oh, yeah, the ref did make a good call. Or even if the ref fucked up, if the ref called it a touchdown, it's a touchdown. End of story. So I don't get the big problem there. So that's really what you need to see. So I think the problem is in watching the game, you destroy the continuity. It's like going to the movies. You're watching the Batman movie and imagine stopping it for 5 minutes to review did the Joker really do this? And you're like, you ruin the flow of the movie by stopping it. You're ruining the flow of the game, especially going to 5 minutes of commercials every time you do a review. Well, did he get both feet in? I know he had a ref 2 feet away, and he called them in, but let's blow it up, super slow motion, because that's how the ref sees it after all, and see if it's a good catch or not. And you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? And that's the big problem with it. You can't, either you have the ref and you let him do it, and he misses calls for both teams, but he's but it's okay. Why doesn't every call have to be right? And every call's not right anyway. Even when you bring in the instant replay, you still fuck the calls up. So I don't really understand the point of the replay. It should be at regular speed, the way the ref sees it. And if you can't tell whatever the ref called, if it's a blatant, there was a Nebraska Penn State game in the 80s where I believe the Nebraska receiver clearly was out of bounds. Okay, that maybe. Outside of that, if you're not sure, boom, 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 then let what the ref called. And the other thing is all this bullshit at the 1 yard line. The guy calls it a touchdown and they review it and the knee was down. Who cares? You call it a touchdown, it's a touchdown. That's the point. What does the ref call? Nobody cares. I mean, this is what I just don't get. That's why the games were better in the 70s and 60s, even the 80s. There was no review, and the calls were called, and the game, like the Montana, the catch, they didn't review. Well, fortunately, it didn't need review, but let the game go because you got the juice and the excitement of Dwight Clark catching the ball. That's the point. I think there was another play. Tony Hill caught a touchdown in the game, and it looked like his left foot was out of bounds. But the ref called it a touchdown. It was a touchdown. Move on. And you're killing the whole flavor of the game, where it's very difficult to watch now. And then I don't get the prices. I don't know. Who goes to a pro football game? I wouldn't go to a Lion game. Even if they paid me, I'm not sure I would go. It's just too much bullshit. But the Lions are gouging their fans. Ticket prices have gone up. What is that? You've sucked for 70 years. You haven't won since 1957. You have the nerve to raise your ticket prices because the Lions had a good season. That's just ridiculous. So that's like going to the grocery store and you get people coming. Oh, we're going to raise our steaks to $35 a pound because we got all these people to buy steaks, so let's raise the price on them. Hard to well, that's how Ford Motor, that's why they're broke, because they're fucking clueless. David, Verlander complained of baseball analytics ruining pitching. I agree with him. I don't know why they're using analytics. It doesn't work in football. Coaches that use analytics and not their skill all get fired. We got to go for 2 because analytics says it. I never understand that. You're down 21-7, you score, it's 21-13, and you go for 2. What is there any thought process there? You would go for 1 and you'd be down 21-14, and now we need another touchdown and we tie it up. And if we want to, we can go for 2 then, but more than likely, let's just kick the extra point and go to overtime. No, we go for 2 and we don't get it. Now we're down 21-13, and now we need another touchdown and go for 2 to tie the game up because we're too stupid to realize if we don't get the 2-point conversion, we're fucked. Somebody did that. They were down 9. They went for 2 to get down 7, and they missed it. Now they're down 9. Now you're fucked because now you need 2 scores. So whoever's the coach is clearly missing the point of you're not always going to, hit it. It's like card counting and blackjack. Just because there's 10s out doesn't mean you're getting them and the dealer's not. What do you do if you get 16 and the deck's rich in 10s and the dealer's got a 10 up? You're fucked because you're going to go over and the dealer's got 20. So it doesn't mean you're going to win just because there's a lot of 10s, because there is a dealer. So analytics sucks. I don't buy it. I think coaches are just idiots. You got to coach your team. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. If it's 4th and 1 and I got the Steelers 75 defense, we're punting the ball 100% of the time because I got the best defense in the league. You're not going to score. Or if I got Lawrence Taylor or the 84, 85 Bears, I'm punting the ball 100% of the time. You'll have 3 plays, and then I'll get the ball back. And otherwise, why would I want to give you the ball at midfield with Lawrence Taylor, the 85 Bears, the 75 Steelers? Why would I not punt the ball 100% of the time? And that's the part that these idiot coaches don't get. Who's on your defense? And if you don't have a Lawrence Taylor and an 85 Bears and a 74 Steelers, why not? And that's what I see. I'm anti the Lions GM. Everybody loves him because he was able to get the 2 Alabama guys in the first round. He wasted 2 first-round picks. You could have got players just as good in the 6th, 7th round from Texas Tech or something. TCU, Houston, teams that throw the ball a lot. But what you couldn't get is ace defensive players. And that's what you get in the first 2 rounds are the best defensive players. And that's how you win, a.k.a. Philadelphia. Jalen Carter, half my Georgia boys. There's 7 Georgia boys on the Philly defense. On a defense that gave up 7 points a game. And I couldn't believe it. And if you watch my draft video, I go right there and I say, why are the Lions not taking Georgia players or taking Alabama players? And then I noticed Philly took 2 here and took Jalen Carter and took 2 more. Green Bay, their best defensive players, the middle linebacker from Georgia. And you could just see it like, why wouldn't you take from the best defense in 25 years that gave up 7 points a game? Why wouldn't you take their defensive players? Are you out of your fucking mind? And that's exactly what they did. So I don't love the Lion GM because he took 2 Alabama offensive players in the first round, which is a no-brainer. Who does he take in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round? And he takes nobody from Georgia. Sorry. That tells me he doesn't know what he's doing, that he just goes to Alabama to get a good running back and a good receiver that he could have gotten the 5th round from Utah, Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia, LSU. They have, how many good wide receivers have they got? So you could have gotten those guys. Everybody's all high on the Jacksonville receiver, and then I looked, he's from LSU. Oh, big surprise. Chase, whatchamacallit, my guy on Minnesota, Jefferson. It's not hard. Just go to LSU to get superstar receivers, and it's not hard. The guy on the Giants, LSU. The guy on Jacksonville, LSU. So what are you fucking around with? Oh, we'll take guys from Alabama because we've seen Julio Jones have a pulled hamstring for the last 7 years. Guy never plays. He's always injured. I mean, I just love this guy, man. I'd pay him $5. I'd put him on. I'd say, I'll tell you what, if you play 8 games, I'll give you $10 million. Because the guy doesn't play. He takes his money, and he's always got a pulled hamstring. That's Alabama football. They're all injured. They're all crybabies. But, yes, I agree. Analytics, just having the pitcher pitch 100 miles an hour is terrible. Nolan Ryan could do it. He's 1 in a million who could do that. This 5 innings shit. There was a game, what was it? I think Tampa had this really good pitcher, and he's in the playoffs. I think I saw something on it. And and they pulled him because he was going to have to go through the lineup the third time. And the manager pulls him for some bomb. I think the Yankees, actually, last year, the year before, and they pulled the pitcher because he would have had to go through the lineup 3 times. That's his only explanation. He's got a one-hitter going, and you're pulling him for that, or the guy with the no-hitter. What is his third time through the lineup? And somebody's got to tell me what an OPS is. It ain't on base percentage. I don't know what it is. It's ridiculous. I want batting average, home runs, and RBIs. That's why they're important. Is the guy going to drive in the runs? Can the guy hit home runs? And what's his batting average? I want a 300 hitter, somebody who hits 30 homers and drives in 100 runs. That's it. I don't know what an OPS is. I think that means of his hits, they're extra base hits. Big fucking deal. That's totally meaningless to me. Who cares? Well, the guy's got an 800 OPS. Oh, so the guy, when he does hit the, but what's his, I love that. And then you look at his batting average, he's hitting 230. And you're like, what do I want a 230 hitter? So when he does hit, it's extra bases, but he only's got a 230 batting average. But if he's got a 300 batting average, I don't give a fuck about the other, unless he's Wade Boggs and just hits a bunch of singles. And I think that's just the whole OPS thing's ridiculous. The WAR is ridiculous. Wins above replacement. What the fuck does that mean? Well, if the guy's not playing and you want to use that as a stat, I hear these radio guys in Detroit and they go, oh, he's got this WAR or that WAR. Nobody knows what it means, and nobody knows what a good WAR is. Or the OPS, he's got a 600 OPS, like he's got a 600 batting average. And you're like, that's not the batting average. The guy hits 230. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So, again, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Give me a 300 hitter, please. Bobby, where are you? What did you hit? I only have your rookie card. I don't have your final card. I just got football. I got a Reggie Jackson card. So here's Reggie Jackson, 1986 Angels. So we know he started in 71. His career batting average was 263. He had 2,500 hits. He had 548 homers and 1,659 RBIs. That's what I care about from Mr. October. The 548 home runs, the 1,600 RBIs, the 263 batting average. That's all I need. I don't know what his OPS is, nor do I give a fuck. The guy was a 260 hitter with 500 home runs. That's what I care about. That's why would I care about OPS? That's me. I don't know, and I don't care what it was. Profit. I don't think that 2-point conversion is anywhere near 50%. Well, the problem with the analytics with the 2-point conversion in the fourth down is they're just macro. It's the whole league. So every time this happens, the result. So it's 52%. But what they're not doing is the micro look. Against the Baltimore Ravens, against the Giants, against Dallas, against Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, how successful is it? So if you knew Philadelphia, you would see it's probably 2%. And then what you're not looking at is the tush push by Philadelphia. How many of those? They'll go for fourth down every time and make it because they're doing the Bush push. So if every other team doesn't do that, then it's skewed because you're showing all this Philadelphia conversion on 4th and 1, and then you're putting it in to the stats, and it's skewing the stats. So you need that without Philadelphia. Now what is it? 20%. And against the Ravens or against San Diego, Denver, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, against the good defensive teams, is it 10%? Well, against Jacksonville and Tennessee, it might be 70% because they suck. So they don't do that. They got to take Philly out. They got to show you against the Baltimores and the Kansas Cities and Phillies with the good defenses, I bet it's not even 10%. So you need to know, but they don't. They just mix it in. So the Bush push is in there going, yeah, it's 52% with the Bush push. And against teams like Indy and Tennessee who can't play defense, you're throwing that in too. Or if Philly, does it 4 times against Washington, that goes into the stats. So you go, oh, it's good. And then if you don't make it, what happens? So if you don't get it, how many games do you lose? Oh, all of them. So again, it's a very misleading stat that you need to have a deeper look into against which teams and take out the Philly bullshit play that should be totally illegal. Since when is pushing the running back legal? At what point can you push the running back and play rugby? This is football, not rugby. That's what I hate about football now. They're being, let's get rid of the kickoff. They might get injured. Well, why don't you get away from the Thursday night game? That's probably doing more injuries than this fucking kicking a kickoff that ruins the game. So you're ruining the game, and you're saying for safety, which sounds very communist to me. Yeah, the problem is they use league averages for all their stats, and you can put whatever you want when doing stats, right? You can make it look any way you want, and it's skewed. Again, take Philly out. I bet it's 30%. What is the tush push? It's stupid. It's rugby. It's basically the quarterback can't go, and they're pushing the quarterback. So with the leverage of the 3 guys behind him pushing him over the line, he gets the yard. But it's totally illegal because he should have to do it on his own. So he should run into the line. He doesn't get anything. He's down. Oh, no, 3 guys are going to push him from behind, and using that leverage, he'll get the yard. That's what it is. It's totally illegal and ruins the game as far as I'm concerned. It's not football. It's like baseball, the 10th inning, and you put the guy on second. No. The guy has to earn second. He's got to hit a double. You don't just put a guy on second. By doing that, we want to end the game quicker. Why? Isn't it a good game? If it's not a good game, then maybe you shouldn't play it. But if it is a good game, why do I want to end it sooner? It's like a movie. Well, we got to make the movie 90 minutes because people won't stay for longer. Well, they will if it's a good movie. Just like my chat, it's 2 hours now. Well, if it wasn't a good chat, you guys wouldn't be here. So I don't care about the time. Profit. That's a new rule, pushing the ball carrier. Well, it's been there the last couple of years. But it's I don't even know if it's a rule. I just think they start pushing. I think part of it came from the Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush push at Notre Dame 10 years ago when they were stopped at the 1, and then Bush pushes them in, and they gave him a touchdown. I don't think that should not have been a touchdown. I was happy because I did have USC in the game, but just like you've got to hit to get on in baseball, or at least draw the walk or get hit by the pitch. Same thing in football. You've got to run to get it. You cannot be pushed in. I hate when they do the rugby and the linemen start pushing the guy. And the play, man, what is that? That is not football. That's rugby. And I'm not watching rugby. I'm watching football. They make changes to make changes, and it's stupid. The pitch clock in baseball, if I went to I don't think I could even go to a baseball game now. You can't have pitch clocks. You can't have hit clocks. You're trying to rush the game, then don't play it. If your game, that's like me, I'm trying to sell this card, so I'm making it $5 to sell it. Or some business, it's really like there's no demand, there's no demand for my Canadian club. So I'm just going to mark it down a lot to sell it. I just want to sell it, but there's really no demand for it. That's basically what they're saying in baseball. Well, nobody really wants to watch because it's so stupid and so boring that I'm going to speed up the game with pitch clocks and hit clocks and that. And then I can have 5 minutes of commercials between innings. So it's becoming about making money with advertising, and that's what you get on Pluto and all these channels. It's all about the advertising, but then nobody wants to. I mean, I'll be sitting there watching Pluto. I'll be watching Trading Places or something, and there's every 5 minutes there's 6 commercials. I got to turn it off. I can't get into the movie, and I don't want to watch all these commercials. It's okay if it's a one commercial, but when they start doing 6 commercials on you, okay, I'll go to Netflix, or I'll go to regular TV, because at least when they have the commercial, it comes on at a normal break time. So if you're watching a game, it comes on in between innings. When you're watching YouTube, I've had times where the guy's kicking the field goal. I'm watching an old game, and they go to a commercial. Excuse me, in the middle of the kick. So this is like a 1975 game, and in the middle of the kick, he's kicked it. It's up. Commercial. I can't believe what I'm watching. If you think I'm watching the commercial because I want to watch the result of the kick, you're out of your mind. I immediately am only looking at skip, and then I rewind it back to the beginning of the kick and watch the kick again, and the commercial doesn't replay. And you got to be out of your mind. So I don't understand that. Profit. So why not line up 2 or 3 linemen in the backfield who push the quarterback or running back from behind on every play? Exactly. That's a good point. I would do that. If they can't stop it for 3 yards, I would. That would be my game plan. I would just every play, I would get 3 yards, do it 4 tries. The problem is I'd probably hurt my quarterback. Probably not the guy you should be doing it with. You should be doing it with your running back and just push them for 3 yards every play. I agree with you. I don't know if anybody would watch the game, but you'd never punt. You'd score a touchdown every time. Is there a defense to that play? So if I'm the defensive coordinator, how do I stop the play? The most logical way would be to get to the pushers. Can I get my defensive guy to knock the pushers off so now the quarterback can't be pushed for the 2 yards? That's the only way to stop it, because the linemen are just blocking. So you just have blocking. Then you have the quarterback and the pushers pushing them the 2 yards. So you've got to really get to the pushers. Can you get guys blitzing around the end to take out the pushers? If you do, then you can stop it. There's no way of getting low, doesn't help you. There's no way of getting more people you've got to counter the pushers. That's the key to it. The 3 guys pushing the quarterback has that leverage. And on defense, you need 3 guys the other way to stop it. But I think the only chance is to run around the end and block the pushers off. If you can get the pushers off, and I don't know that you can, that's how you stop. Because then the quarterback has no other emphasis to get at the extra yards, and now it's just a quarterback sneak, and he's not going to gain anything. That's it. That's the only way that I can think you could stop it, is to get rid of the pushers. But you're right, Prophet, but they want to throw the ball and they want to do other plays. So I think they want to. I'm not sure you could do it for a whole game either. I mean, the blockers would be tired out, the quarterback, the pushers. I mean, I think it would be very exhausting for the offense to push every play. So I'm not sure it would work. It sounds like if you did that 4 plays in a row, you get a first down and just go down the field doing that. So yeah, I think you could, but I think you'd hurt your players probably. So that's how I would defense it. I would go after the pushers. And if I could get to the pushers, the quarterback ain't going to do shit against my defense in a normal, if he's just running quarterback sneaks. Anyway, so that's what goes on in football. Should be illegal. this is football. It should be the runner gets the yards, not the push. The push is rugby. We're not watching rugby. Like I said, baseball is stupid. You give a guy second base as a joke. And baseball, you pitch the guy every fifth day, and he goes 5 innings. Because if he faces that's where analytics sucks. If he faces guys 3 times, oh my God, they hit more off of him. Well, they hit more off of him if he's tired. I don't know seeing him the third time is going to matter. I played baseball. I played Pony Colt, so 15, 16 years old. If I couldn't hit the pitcher, I couldn't hit the pitcher. It didn't matter how I could see him 100 times. I'm not going to hit him. And that's the difference. So if you do that, that's what you have. So that's the big problem. So again, I would be pitching my guys. I don't care about the third time through the lineup. I wouldn't use that as justification. And I wouldn't have a pitch count. If I'm the manager, my guy's going until he's going 9 innings, unless he just is tired. But that's my fault for not getting him used to going 9 innings. Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Mickey Lolich. In the 60s, these pitchers pitched 9 innings, unless they just sucked and they gave up the runs. But you see several World Series, Koufax goes 9, and Don Drysdale and Bob Gibson, Mickey Lolich pitched on 2 days rest to win Game 7 in 1968. He pitched the complete game. Jack Morris did it for the Twins in the 80s. So don't give me this bullshit. They oh wait, they're at 100. Why is 100 pitches uniform for every pitcher, and that's it? Oh no, you pitched and most of them aren't even 100. Oh, well, he pitched 82. He pitched 94. We're going to take him out. He might get hurt because or it's the third time through the lineup. I can't. It's almost unwatchable. Being a player, it's bullshit. I remember when I was younger, I was on a pitch count. The league put you could only pitch so many pitches in a week or something. And I had to come out even though I felt fine. I wouldn't have pulled myself out. I thought it was a joke. This whole pitch count thing's just going to ruin the game. It's very hard to watch. I won't go watch it. Comerica Park's very expensive. And you're sitting far away, and the seats where you used to sit are too expensive. I'm not going to pay that kind of money to watch fucking baseball. So I don't even go. If I want to go downtown, I'm going to play poker. I'm not going to a Tiger game unless you give me tickets. If you give me tickets, I'll go. I went to 2 games. One I got tickets, and the other one I think I got tickets. One was through Ford, and one was through my family was going. So that's it. Tiger Stadium, I used to go all the time, and it was cheap, and you get box seats. Third base line, first base. I remember first base line. And you're about 6 rows in. And it was $5. I mean, and it was like a real good game. Not this bullshit. Did you ever go to the old Tiger Stadium? Yeah, that was the best. I don't really like Comerica, but yeah, I went to the Tiger Stadium when the Lions played in the 70s. I remember going to a Monday night game. I think it was against the 49ers. And that was good. Some Thanksgiving games we used to go to because my dad's friend owned a steel company and he had 10 tickets. So you would go to the game. So that was fun. But, I went to the Silverdome and watched the Lions play. That was the New England Ram game. I was at the Lion game when I started figuring out what the fuck did I bet New England for. And the Rams won. Why didn't I take the Rams as a dog? And that's really what started a lot of thinking from me. But yeah, I've been to those. Ford Field, I'll never go to. You'll have to pay me. You'll literally have to pay me money and parking. I will park at the casino. It's maybe a 10-minute walk. I would do that, but I would not go to Ford Field. Never. I hate Ford. I worked there. It's a terrible company. I have no value. I'm having a hard time even working now because I really don't care. I'm smarter than everybody there, being stoic, you really see it. And then as I'm evolving with my master's in economics, you realize every company should go to gold. And so it's like, what are you wasting your time for? Just go to gold. And then I said, if I was the CFO or CEO, I'd be buying gold and I wouldn't have a business, and we'd all retire in about a year or two. When gold hits 10,000 an ounce, we'll win because the dollar's going out. And so I have a hard time working. So I'm hoping that YouTube, I can make some good money at it, and we'll go. And then obviously I make good money in football. The old Polo Grounds is one strange field with a dead center of 505. Yeah, that's where, wasn't it where Willie Mays made the over the shoulder catch? They make a big deal about it, and it's really an easy catch. If you've ever played football, you catch the ball over your shoulder. That's how you're running, and then you see the ball and you catch it. It's a very easy catch in baseball because you do the same. You run, and you just look, and you can see it, and you're used to doing it for football. So I never understood the big deal about making an over-the-shoulder catch in baseball. I thought it was very easy to do. I never dropped the ball. So I think that's where Willie Mays made that big catch. But again, it was an easy catch because he played football. Yeah, that center field went on forever. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think the Comerica Park, I think's 460 or 480, the dead center field. That's the thing. Some of these parks are 300 all over, or Fenway Park. I can never figure that out. 300 to left field. What is this? Seriously? I thought that was incredibly stupid. It's kind of unique. It's kind of cute, but really 300 feet? Not 300 yards, 300 feet. But yeah, that's kind of bad. But anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day. 2:18. So I got to leave about 2:30. Go to the pool again. The pool closes at 4:30 on Sundays. I don't know why, but whatever. So I just like to do my pool every day. It's relaxing. It's a hot tub, and I'm working out. So it gives me the workout, which is good for your mind and keeps you healthy and fairly thin. So I'm doing that. But outside of that, that's about it. I haven't heard from Daria today. I keep asking her, go to the dentist. Like, she's got a tooth here. And I'm thinking, well, how did the tooth get here? It had to come from underneath. Maybe it's a wisdom tooth. She said, no, it's not a wisdom tooth. I need to go to the doctor. And I'm thinking, I would check out a dentist. But I don't know exactly what she got. She said a tooth up here. So it must have broken off and went up. I still think a dentist could get it, but I'm not going to argue with her. I'm just giving her my thoughts. So she's got to get a CAT scan. I don't know when, probably soon this week. And then she's got to run to the doctor to get this out, which I'm hoping is a little acupuncture type of little hole, and they pull it out. I mean, I would think that's what they do now. And I feel bad for her, but there's nothing I can do. And it's crazy to have. She's got a tooth in her cheek. It's insanity. Another great lecture, Professor. Thank you, Prophet. Well, the key is I try to explain it not like the moron. Who was the moron that we watched? Luke Groban. Totally. See, if you watch Luke Groban, you'd think he's smart. He presents himself, the way he presents, that you think he's intelligent. And then he'll say, well, the debt to the GDP is this and that, which doesn't mean anything. And then the inflation, the value of the money is dropped, but the inflation's really high, and he doesn't explain anything. So you really don't know what he's talking about, but he's not explaining it. So you don't know if what he's saying is true or false. So you need somebody like me to shed some light on him and Andy Scheckman and all these other gold experts, which makes me throw up. And you just realize that they don't know what they're talking about. Luke Groman is a Keynesian because he doesn't understand inflation. And then he doesn't explain, oh, Israel, they had 200% inflation. Everything was fine. Everything was fine because they changed money in 1986, you idiot. That's why everything was fine, but he doesn't tell you that. So he kind of tries to make it sound like, oh, the inflation, look, you can have high inflation, everything's all right. No, you can't. It's always been bad. It's only good when you go to gold. And if you don't go to a gold-backed currency, the inflation kills your dollar 100% of the time. Never has it not. And same thing in Israel. They had to come out with a new dollar. But he conveniently forgets that because his point is, look, we can have inflation and it's fine. We can raise gold and pay $5 trillion on the debt, but we don't really give away the gold. Yeah, you do give away the gold. How do you pay for it? Well, it's just on the balance sheet. No, you got to give the gold. You got to sell the gold to get the money. It's not. What do you mean it's just on the balance? He doesn't know what a balance sheet is. So it's like you got a company and you go buy steel. Yeah, you got to use your cash to buy the steel. You can't just say, well, yeah, we're going to buy steel, but we're not really going to spend our money. What are you talking about? So it shows you how stupid these guys is, but you need me to interpret it. I'm a very good interpreter because I can smell what they're cooking and I can smell when we're full of shit. And that's what I do. But anyway, my pleasure, Prophet. Well, thank you, Prophet. Yeah, most people do. And, some can make it. And then a lot of people watch it at night. Because I do it daily, I do get certain ones, mostly the football picks. I make a lot of people a lot of money because I'm very good at that. But now it's off football season. So I'm telling you to buy gold. Again, I have no fish in the game. I have no skin in the game, right? I don't make commission off of you if you buy it. I help you. I make you money. I make you whole. I keep you safe. I don't get a penny for that. That's the difference. That's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to sell anything, even though I bought a subscription for myself today. I thought I didn't realize I was doing that. So it was just $3.99, but I won't make that mistake again. I never really said to pay for it, but I guess I did. But it's $3.99, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I'll probably have to pay income tax on buying myself my own subscription. Anyway, have a nice day on a Sunday. Again, you're buying gold and silver. Again, the Comex opens at 6:30 tonight, the Chinese. So by the time you go to bed, you'll see where gold's at. Again, there's the game of the derivatives, which is why you go, how is the price going down? And people will say, oh, they're profit taking. No, nobody profit takes gold and silver. It's not like other thing. It's not like the blackjack you profit take or poker you profit take. You don't profit take gold and silver. You don't arbitrage gold and silver. You buy it and you hold the inventory because you don't want to be in the dollar because the dollar's gone, just like the Israeli dollar in the 80s. Am I on at night as well? No, but you can watch it. See, this is a live class, but at the end, then if let's say you want to watch it tonight, so let's say Bobby wants to watch it. He's not on now, busy with the family. So at 9:00 at night, he can turn this on. That's why I'm trying to not go too long. He can then come on and watch it. But because I do it every day, I feel some people don't come on every night to watch it. They just catch the next one. Because I'm talking current events. I'm talking Trump and I'm talking Fort Knox and inflation because nobody seems to know what it is. They don't get it's printing the money. They think it's prices. And so I come in frustrated to explain that. I think you guys get it because I don't really get a lot of questions on what's inflation or that. I think most of our class understands that. So have a good day, Prophet. Good luck with your gold bars. Keep me posted on that. And otherwise, www.teaserking.com. You can get my email if you have questions, comments. Yeah, I doubt they'll do an audit in Fort Knox that they actually show you, because you would see nothing and then it would be a panic. But we know there is no gold. There's no U.S. gold in Fort Knox. It's either brass painted gold or it's the Chinese gold that's in there that we've sold to them. And that's what's in there. So anyway, there is no U.S. gold in Fort Knox. We don't have any. Our dollar is worth nothing. The quicker you understand that, the quicker you buy gold and silver, the better it is for you. All right. Have a good night. Off to the pool very soon. I just need a quick bite. All right. Thanks, everybody. www.teaserking.com. All right. Take care. Have a nice Sunday.